I'm Shadow the Hedgehog. Welcome to Anime and Pop Culture Reloaded, the cousin show to Retro Reloaded, where we step beyond retro video games and reload the anime, movies, shows, manga, comics, sci-fi, fantasy, superheroes, and pop culture stories that made us fans in the first place. From nostalgic classics to new releases, streaming hits, cinematic universes, and cult favorites, we break down the worlds, characters, moments, and debates that keep fans talking. Let's reload it.
All right, guys, with all of that out of the way, we're actually doing an episode for the other podcast, which is Anime and Pop Culture Reloaded. You know, I kind of was playing with the name with this because at first it was called Anime Reloaded, and now it's like I want to cover other, not just anime. And I also was thinking to myself, like, should it be called Rewind? But just to keep it like kind of the same as Retro Reloaded, I called it like Anime and Pop Culture Reloaded. Is it the best name? Probably not, but it matches the other show. So that's what we're going with for now. In the future, the name could change. So anybody who's listening, don't be surprised if you're like, wait, what is this show? It's like, yeah, no, there was just that other show that was named, Reloaded or whatever. So yeah, but today we are going to be talking about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, the movie, not the video game. And so yeah, this movie came out in 1999, and it was a film that was when it was kind of when it first came out, it was kind of a mixed reaction. It wasn't not everybody loved it, not everybody hated it. The majority of people I knew back then liked it, but it was kind of this mixed review. And I feel like coming back to it, there's been a change of opinion somewhat. But before we kind of get into all this, I want to introduce my guests. My first guest is Mike. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be back. Or I guess
Yeah.
for the first time here, but back on
Yeah,
the broader Reloaded universe.
Yeah, the Reloaded universe. Yeah, welcome back. It's good to have you. And then we have Sunnyside, a favorite among the Retro Reloaded listeners.
Hello, I'm glad to be back. It's always fun to hang out with Lance and Co.
Yeah, and then we got the one and only Wobeeyert. Welcome back.
Hello, I am Co.
This is Co. Yeah.
Yes, I'm the Co.
It's kind of trippy because for people who are listening, in the Discord, Sunnyside changed his name to Wobbyside, and a bunch of people in the Discord have changed their name to Wob whatever. So we have all these different Wobs in the Discord, and it actually trips me up because I'm like, wait, is this Wobbier or is it Mobbier? And like, who am I talking to right now? And I have to kind of like,
We are the Wob. Resistance is futile.
Yeah, we are Negan. Everybody's a Negan. Do you guys get that reference, by the way? I just want to make sure I'm not alone here. Okay, cool. Yeah. But yeah, so just a quick little fact about the movie. The budget for the movie was $113 million, and the box office, it sold $1 billion in the box office. That's huge. I mean, we're talking about a very massive profit. We're talking about like almost 10 times the profit for this movie. There's very few movies in the world that make it to $1 billion, and we're talking about this making it to $1 billion in 1999. So if you count for inflation, it's probably like closer to like 1.5, I would assume. So very, very successful film. That being said, I kind of want to start with this hook, and this is going to be rhetorical, so you guys don't answer this yet. But for years, this was considered the black sheep of Star Wars. But after 2 decades of memes, debates, and reevaluations, is The Phantom Menace actually better than people remember? And this is going to be kind of our premise for today. Like, that question, okay? So, yeah, first, I want to start with you guys' history of the movie, like your memories, like when was it you first saw it? Did you see it in adulthood? Did you see it in theaters? And let's start with Mike.
All right. So on the lead up to this coming out, I had been a very large Star Wars fan. I got into that as a nerd because I ran out of like documentaries about space at the library and stumbled into Star Wars because Star was in the name, which is a weird way to get there.
Right.
And so in '97, they had done the re-releases of the special editions, really. So like I had seen those in theater, was really excited to get to see those. And then you had this couple year window until Phantom Menace came out. So I saw that like opening day after school with my mom taking me.
Okay, nice. How old were you?
Would have been like would have just turned 14.
Okay, so you were a teenager. Okay, nice. I was personally a little bit younger, so that's kind of interesting. First impressions, how did you feel about it?
It's interesting that I think because for me it wasn't the experience that I know a lot of people had either where that was the first time they saw Star Wars, or people I know that are older who had seen the first ones in theater as like that was their big moment. For me, it just kind of fills in there.
Okay,
Like I don't
yeah,
have strong memories attached to exactly how I felt about it. Obviously, there's parts that we'll talk about that I did would have and still do think were awesome, but it
yeah.
wasn't as crystallizing a moment as I think a lot of people had, where that was their first Star Wars in theater.
Okay, yeah. Yes, it was my first in theater. Well, not my first Star Wars, but it was my first in theater, so I can understand that. Um, now, Sonny, what was your first experience?
With this movie?
Yeah.
Um, well, I saw it in theaters. I was really little. This was pretty much kind of the I for me, I had seen like I think Star Wars: A New Hope special edition in theaters like maybe a year or two before. And so this is kind of my second time experiencing Star Wars in theater. And I was so young at the time, I don't really remember the movie that well, but, some of the things that kinda, stuck with me at the time was, of course, the pod race scenes,
Yes.
the big battle at the end. Of course, Darth Maul because, he
Yes.
was visually quite memorable looking, and,
Yes.
the giant fish scene. I don't think I left too much of an impression, to me one way or the other, but I do know that, I think, like, a few months later, my father bought me the comic book adaptation of Episode 1, Phantom Menace. It's, the graphic novel of it, and I know that I read that, quite often when I was a little kid. And so I don't actually remember the movie that well, but I actually remember the comic book adaptation by Dark Horse much better.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you remember the comic book more than the actual movie itself. Okay,
Yeah,
is there?
because
I mean, oh, go ahead.
yeah, yeah. The only other experience I had with the film was Red Letter Media's epic deconstruction of the movie, the multi-part series that they did on YouTube.
Okay, nice. I actually haven't watched that, so we'll get into it. I kind of later on, down a little bit after we get done with Wob, his backstory. I kind of want to get into some of the differences a little bit between the comic and the movie. We probably won't go into some like the huge thing, but we'll kind of summarize like maybe the major differences. And then, but Wob, what is your first experience with this film?
I did not see this in theater. It would have been probably I don't know when it came out, but it would have been one of the summers that I would have been visiting my father and my siblings in a different province. But my father put it on, and I think I had watched episode 5 like sometime before that, but I didn't really remember it much. All I remembered was Luke getting his hand cut off.
Yes.
But episode 1, man, that one was so cool because in the Discord I just showed, my father has like all the figures of the episode 1 that came out at the time with that weird little calm tech thing that like Qui-Gon talks into.
Oh,
Yeah.
funny enough, that's actually a Gillette razor that they just briefly
Yes,
partially decorated.
which is
Really?
funny
That's kind of funny.
because when I was a kid, I recognized it as that because my father also had that razor. So it was weird
Oh,
to me. Yeah. And
Did you ever pretend to talk into it?
no, because he had the Comtech like toy. He had one
Okay.
that the kids could play with, and then he had another one that he just kept in the box. Like he has 2 totes full of these Star Wars Episode 1 figures, still completely unopened. All these years later.
Dude, why do I remember this toy? Why was this like a super popular toy? Like,
Look at General in the Discord just quick. Just take a quick look,
yeah,
and you'll
yeah.
see like the little chips, and you'll picture it in your head. And it would say like character voice lines.
Yeah, they kind of made it central to a bunch of the rest of the toys.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I feel like that was like a popular Star Wars toy. Was that little like walkie-talkie or whatever he had? Like, what'd you call it? Comtech?
I think that's what it's called. It says on the
Okay.
box.
Okay.
This wasn't the one that got me heavily into Star Wars. I actually think Episode 2 left a bigger mark on me. But Episode 1 was the first one that I remember like watching. And as a kid, I think I was like 8, 9 when I saw it. Because I was born like 92. And I would have watched it the next year in the summer. And like even the pod race scene when I was a kid was still hype as crap, you know? And as Sonny
Yes.
said, like Darth Maul was one of the coolest bad guys you could have ever imagined.
I mean, he looks
Oh,
like
dude.
the devil.
He looks so
We-
cool.
We are going to get into Darth Maul for sure. Like, he is one of the biggest highlights of the show. He is just crazy, right? That everybody remembers Darth Maul, and we're going to talk a lot about him. You just, by the way, this little talkie thing, you unlocked a memory for me. I was looking at Star Wars walkie-talkie, Phantom Menace things, and what popped up was the little, the walkie-talkies from Episode 1. But then there was these Star Wars toys that was like Darth Vader and a Stormtrooper walkie-talkie. And I had this as a kid. I know I had to have this. I remember having this. That is
Yo,
like
you unlocked one for me too. My cousin had those.
Dude, what? Like, that is so wild. I'm like,
Dude.
wait a minute. I had this.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yo, you should call the Nostalgia Reloaded instead or something.
Gosh, I know. It's so crazy when like we all talk about this stuff and then all of a sudden like these memories flood back. I'm like, oh yeah. That's like so crazy. Wow.
Not
Nostalgia
the first
hit
one
right
I saw
there.
in theater. The first new Star Wars I ever saw in theater was actually Force Awakens. So
Okay.
there's that.
Yes. That is oh dude. I don't even really want to talk about that right now because you're gonna get.
I did
you're gonna
not
set me off.
hate
You're gonna set
Force
me-
Awakens, but
Okay,
everything
okay.
after that was pretty bad.
Okay. Yeah. I might go back and give it another chance and then do an episode on
I have
it.
to, but
If
the first
we're
time I
gonna
saw
talk
it.
about Force Awakens or The Last Jedi, boy, do I have thoughts.
Yeah, I think I got some thoughts too. I want to give it another chance and then see if I, dislike it as much as I remember. But yeah, so you didn't see this in theater the first time.
Nope.
How old were you when you first saw it?
probably about 8, 9.
Okay, 8 or 9. I think.
Yep.
So in '99 I was 8 years old. So I saw it in theater. So I must have been 8 when I first saw it. For some reason I thought I was older, but I guess not. My dad always got these DVDs, and I don't know if you guys remember, but if you put a DVD in the DVD drive and you don't do anything after like it ends, it just replays that title screen over and over.
Yeah.
Dude, he did that with all of the Lord of the Rings and all the Star Wars. So I would see the intro to those title screens because you'd fall asleep and just like watching these. So they would just play over and over and over and over and over and over. It's so funny.
I have the Shrek 1 in my head because my sister would fall asleep with Shrek 1. So I would just hear Donkey screaming, "Pick me, pick me."
I think I've heard that one too. Dude, oh man. But yeah, so this is the story is kind of interesting because as far as this isn't the oldest iteration in the whole Star Wars universe plot line. They now came out with what was that? The Acolyte, which I think takes place before this. But before the Acolyte, this was one of the older in the timeline of Star Wars. And so I kind of wanted to go a little bit over the plot. Does anybody here think they could summarize it pretty good for the audience?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
I love how, Kate. So I think one of the reasons that it's looked back on and some people didn't like it, was that it kind of introduces us to like the political game of Star Wars, because the original trilogy was just Empire bad, let's resist. But
Yes.
the fundamentals of how that came about is actually fascinating if you care about politics at all. Starts with Naboo having a trade embargo. Because okay, can you guys stop? Sorry, there's just gonna be banging. My cat's being a jerk. I love how it opens too. Just this ring around the planet. There's aliens there. They're preventing them from basically doing trading, and then you're introduced to boom, Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi. They just go there. They're just gonna talk. Death trap. And you see one of the coolest scenes with them like using the lightsaber through the door. And then slowly cutting the hole in it, and you're just like, okay, cool. That's exactly what I thought a lightsaber could do. But because this is a prequel, you don't really see that happen in 4, 5, 6. The lightsabers are mostly just used for fighting.
Yes.
Oh, how things progress from there after they escape. Crash on Naboo. No, Sonny, help me.
Yes, they end up on Naboo, and I think this is around the time that they meet one of the more controversial characters in the film,
Divisive.
Jar Jar Binks.
We'll say divisive.
Yeah, Jar Jar Binks. Yeah, when we'll get into him too.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're on this planet, right? And they're kind of they get help from the Jar Jar Binks Gungans. I think they're called Gungans, and they basically what happens after that? I'm trying to remember like the exact like time frame.
They talk to the Gungans who are trying to stay out of what's going on, because you have the droid invasion of the surface of the planet. The Gungans who are underwater, they say that's not our problem. They convince them, you're still part of the planet. This is going to become your problem. They get transport to try to get to the capital city of Theed to try to find Queen Amidala, because at this point now you have the invasion taking place there, and you've got effectively camps being set up as they're taking people prisoner to try to take full control of the planet.
Say what you will about the Trade Federation, but they don't take their time. They're already getting the camp set up even though they've only invaded for just a couple of hours.
They're very quick. The Trade Federation is surprisingly efficient, and that's
They're
another
not separatists by that point either, right?
No, the separatists don't even become a thing until
they don't.
The next
not till
film.
like 2. Yeah, that's what I thought.
So
then when they get Padme, they get the Padme, like the Naboo cruiser. Then they kind of just fly off to Tatooine, don't they?
Well,
what was their?
Yeah, they rescue Amidala. They take the cruiser. We get introduced to R2-D2 as they escape the blockade, and then they end up at Tatooine, and of course, the mysterious backer that's been backing the Trade Federation basically tells the Viceroy that he's going to be sending an associate of his to deal with the problem, and that's where we get our first reveal of Darth Maul.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Real quick, what was the Trade Federation's gain from blocking the trade, the planet and invading the planet? You know what their motivation was again?
It was some sort of trade dispute. It was some sort of taxation thing. At least that's what the opening crawl says. According to the opening crawl, it says turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic. Taxation of trade routes to the outlying star systems is in dispute. Hoping to resolve the matter with a blockade of deadly battleships, the notoriously greedy Trade Federation has stopped all shipping to the planet of Naboo.
Okay, so they were getting taxed too much, and they were pissed. And so they blocked trade to Naboo to kind of as a revolt to try to resolve this.
The Trade Federation has in this extended Star Wars canon, they're very prominent.
Yeah, they're a lot stronger than if you just watch the Phantom Menace, you realize they're powerful, but they're a lot more powerful than you realize when you go on to episode 2 and 3.
Throughout the Clone Wars, the animated show, they're a lot more powerful than you originally think from just the movie.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
even
which
so,
is
the episode 1 tie-in games kind of help illustrate that too.
Yeah, which is totally crazy to think that this trading regime just got so powerful. You know, they were just like nobody checked them either. They were just like doing their own thing. Um, wow. So yeah, so where were we as far as the story?
We landed on
Qui-Gon Jinn,
Naboo
Obi-Wan. Yeah, we landed on
or
Naboo.
Tatooine.
They get um, what was that? Tatooine.
Tatooine.
Mhm.
They escape Naboo, get to Tatooine.
Okay.
Their starship needs a new part. There's only one
Yeah.
place in town that has it,
Yes.
Mhm.
and
Yes.
And
that's when we meet the goat.
yes.
The goat. Yeah, he's the goat.
Little
Of
Annie.
Yeah, Anakin Skywalker, right? Who if spoilers, if you haven't watched the Star Wars series, real quick, that's going to be eventually be Darth Vader. Everybody kind of knows that. Which
Yeah,
we should,
No.
The teaser poster of the movie showed that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's an old teaser poster for episode 1 where it has Jake Lloyd on the poster, little Annie. He's kind of looking downtrodden at the sand, and his shadow that's being cast
Yeah.
behind him is the silhouette of Darth Vader.
Right.
yeah, which is the probably the most recognizable character of the whole Star Wars verse. I would say is Darth Vader. I don't know if there's anybody else who like you see their face, you're like, that's that guy. It's like everybody knows Darth Vader. Okay, yeah, so they meet Anakin, and then what happens next? They, what unfolds after?
Also, briefly mentioning that on the way there, you get the first meeting of R2D2, who helps the ship escape
Oh,
the
yeah.
blockade for
Yeah.
repairs. And part of meeting Anakin also is meeting that he's building C-3PO. So you get those two constant characters both
Yeah,
introduced.
because Anakin is apparently building C-3PO.
Yes.
Casually building a protocol droid. Just
Yeah, which kind of, I don't before I kind of I didn't want to get into the character stuff too much, but that kind of highlights his intelligence, Anakin's, which is um he's hyper intelligent,
Yeah.
and skilled. So yeah, he's a slave and he's owned by what's that guy's name that owns him?
Watto.
auto.
Watto.
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 And he likes to race pod racers, and basically the Jedi, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, they need a part for their ship, so they start bargaining with Watto. Eventually, one thing leads to another, and Anakin becomes part of the bargain. And Anakin it goes on to win the pod race, which eventually, allows him to be free, but not his mother, unfortunately. And he goes with the Jedi. This is the first time you get to see Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn kind of fight is when on their way back to the ship. And then they after the fight's over, they go back to Coruscant with Padme and the Queen.
Yeah, more or less. I mean they basically bet the whole farm on the pod race, and Qui-Gon does a little bit of something to make sure that the odds are slightly in their favor with the little dice game they do beforehand. And
Yes.
then Qui-Gon is very much interested in Anakin because they do a whole midichlorian thing, which is
his
another
midichlorian
controversial
counts.
topic.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they
Yeah.
win the pod race. They beat Sebula, who is Anakin's rival. And then they go to Coruscant after having a brief encounter with Darth Maul.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the whole metachlorian thing with Anakin, because I didn't really explain why they took Anakin, like why they were like, yeah, let's get this kid. Qui-Gon Jinn is kind of in a way he's kind of a not a rebel, but he's a little bit like as far as a Jedi goes, he's kind of like non formal. He's like an traditional. Yeah, he's kind
I
of
think the term gray
untraditional.
Jedi gets used sometimes for that.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
great.
more listens to the Force more so than the Jedi Code is the thing.
Now, one thing
Yes.
is interesting is in an earlier script draft for this movie, Qui-Gon Jinn was actually going to be Obi-Wan, but later on, in a later draft of the script, George Lucas decided to make Obi-Wan younger, and thus they took what was originally going to be the Obi-Wan character and turned that into Qui-Gon Jinn and made Obi-Wan instead the apprentice.
Okay. Yeah, and that kind of changes Obi-Wan's character throughout the story too, so that's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. So yeah, Qui-Gon Jinn got a feeling about this kid. He was like, and he believed in this prophecy that there was going to be somebody who would bring balance to the Force. And
And
but
there is
based on
there
go
is the
ahead.
bit also with that like because he can sense something's up with this kid that he asks Anakin's mom Shmi like who's the father, and her answer is there is no father.
Right. They had a miracle birth,
Yeah.
basically, is the whole thing.
The extended canon for that stuff is wild, by the way.
Which is
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
funny because before I rewatched this movie, I had forgotten that point in the film that Anakin was born like a virgin birth or whatever. And so I was like thinking to myself, I was like, who's Anakin's father? But I guess there isn't. Like the Metachlorians are his
Well,
father. Well, okay, maybe in the extended stuff there might be, but as far as the movie goes, the Metachlorians are his father, and they created him or something, which is kind of interesting because the Force kind of has its own will, and it's neither good or bad as far as we can tell. It's kind of like this balancing force of nature, right?
Well, and
hilariously, in Star Wars Clone Wars, the Force is literally personified as a good or evil being. There's also their father, who is a neutral being.
also keep in mind that
Okay.
in the extended canon, if you think about Knights of the Old Republic 2, for example, you even have one particular Sith Lord that actually wants to kill the Force itself.
I
Whoa.
mean,
Okay.
if you want to open that fun door, I'll also point out that at some point it was sort of established that life forms from outside the galaxy simply do not exist within the Force, that effectively the Force exists with all life
Like just the
in one
galaxy. Yeah.
galaxy, because aliens from a different galaxy that come in basically exist as voids in the Force, despite it
Yes,
going through
those
everything.
are wrong, for
They
example.
kind of confirm that in a way in the Clone Wars with them finding like the central force point in the galaxy, but it's not really like established that it's not outside the galaxy.
I was
Okay.
always a big fan of the Star Wars EU, and I used to like eat that stuff up. Like on the afternoons, I used to like read this one book called like the Star Wars Chronology, and it basically had like everything that was like Star Wars in a chronological narrative, all the way from like ancient past in the canon to pretty much everything that had been come up with to 2003.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's kind of like that's wild.
yeah. There's a lot of. I think Star Wars really was one of the first to really build this giant universe that exists outside of the bits of content that everybody knew. Like
Yeah. It's a
movies are
shame
well
that
known.
Disney threw it all out when they bought it.
I mean,
Yes and
I don't
no.
want to say in their defense, but they had a lot that they had to work around at that point. So
Mhm,
they pulled some stuff back in, but like even some of the stuff that was in there, um, like the first book that is not like a novelization of a movie, just a book that's set in the same world,
mhm.
same universe for Star Wars came out between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, and has a lot of romantic tension between Luke and Leia.
Yeah, Splinter of the Mind's Eye by Alan Dean Foster. The book got a comic book adaptation in
Oh wow.
1998, by Dark Horse, and the Dark Horse adaptation basically heavily rewrote stuff to make it more in line with canon.
Yeah, so you get a whole lot of that stuff, and it was difficult for them to find, I think, new places to go, especially to go later, because I think
That's
they
when
I'm
they yeah.
the books kind of had the constraint of don't mess with this time period beforehand, because that's what the the near past the movies
I'm
was kind of a mostly off limits, and after the movies was fine, and so
Mhm.
they couldn't really continue afterwards without having to deal with a massive number of many very good stories that took place after the original trilogy.
And of course, given what Disney decided to go with, they might as well have been better off just adapting Heir to the Empire or Dark Empire.
I would have taken I Jedi as a standalone personally.
yeah,
Lance.
I was just gonna say, you said that the Luke and Leia romance stuff kind of got written out. Was that is what you said?
Mhm.
I'm
Well-
glad that's the case. If that's because
Well, Lucas changed his mind in the middle of movies that they weren't going to be love interests, that they were going to be brother sister.
I'm glad they didn't go further with that. Is what I'm saying. Like, I'm glad that was it, and they were like,
Oh, you
okay,
can find it online.
It's very fun to see things that had to get cleaned up when something happened that counted as canonical that had already been dealt with. Because the late 70s comics had Jabba the Hutt in them, and that was a character that was only referenced by name.
Mhm.
And
Oh yeah.
does not and like they filmed some stuff for New Hope with Jabba the Hutt, but they just have a guy in like a furry vest standing in for it. Where what is just like someone's here, but we don't know what the character is actually going to look like. When
Even
Marvel
then, I
handled
don't
it,
think Lucas was envisioning a giant slug when filming the scenes in A New Hope.
it's definitely not what they drew when they put it in the Marvel comics and have Jabba the Hutt, because that is a fully different alien. It's fairly humanoid.
Yeah.
It is the Jabba the Hutt of like the late 70s when they wanted to use a character that people had heard of.
Yeah.
And
But yeah, let's get back to the Phantom Menace. So where were we on the story?
So they
Midichlorian count,
arrived at
off the
Coruscant,
charts.
and we meet the kindly old man, Senator Palpatine, who is very much worried about the safety of Padme.
Yeah, sure. Sure he is. Yeah.
And
Okay.
he
He's a
also
good
takes
senator.
a great interest in Anakin and expects great things from him in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Which is
mean,
obviously like leading up to something.
well,
Yeah. Oh, and then we also meet the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
oh, we first get
Yoda,
introduced to Mace Windu,
Oh,
Mace
yeah.
Windu.
one of the greatest.
Yeah. He's actually known to be like a very strong swordsman. Apparently, like the best on the council. Which is kind of a weird thing because I guess Qui-Gon is also supposed to be equal to him. Which is interesting as we go along in the story, knowing that how he gets defeated. So,
Qui-Gon did it for a reason, though.
yeah. Well, maybe. So they go to Coruscant. Palpatine's interested in Anakin. Where that foreshadows a lot of stuff. We meet the Jedi Council. The Jedi Council is telling Qui-Gon Jinn asked to mentor Anakin, and they basically tell him no. And they say because he's too old, he's got too much fear, and fear is one of those things that lead to the dark side. He's got too much attachment to his mom. He's too old. Is basically what they were saying. And yeah, go ahead.
On point, it's like a little off, but I always love that like Obi-Wan's there and Qui-Gon's like, I will take the boy as my apprentice. And then Obi-Wan's just like, dude, like what about me? And he's like,
Yeah.
not 900's pretty high, Obi-Wan. I think you can understand.
No, he said that he's already a master, basically.
Yeah, he said you're pretty much a Jedi Knight as is, like you're almost ready. But still, I just love the idea that like, are you thinking of replacing me?
Right.
It kind of makes me think that maybe unofficially there might have been a little bit of a rule of two with some of the Jedi as well.
Right. Yeah. And for those who don't know what the rule of two is, there's always two Sith, right? There's the master and the apprentice, pretty much.
Which is something that's established in this movie.
Yeah. So the reason he wants Anakin though is not because he's got a high midichlorian count. It's like literally he thinks this guy is going to be the one to save the Force. Like he's going to be the one to balance the Force, defeat the Jedi. Is originally kind of the original idea, is what they thought was to defeat the to defeat the Sith,
Yes.
not the Jedi. They thought that this kid was going to bring basically defeat all the bad guys and so that's why Qui-Gon really was interested in him.
I do.
So
I've always thought what's interesting with that is really that the language is to bring balance to the Force.
yes,
And it's never really explicit about what that means. And it has always felt like one of those genie things to me, where it's you really should clarify your terms.
Yeah, and I
go for it.
I kind of feel like I'm not sure if we should get into it now, but the maybe we should. The balance to the Force thing, I think, did happen with
Yep.
Anakin. I think he did bring balance to the Force, but this isn't exactly what the Jedi Council wanted, or maybe even Qui-Gon. There was a lot of Jedi, but there wasn't like a lot of like the Sith were kind of in hiding. You know, they were kind of like underpowered. They didn't have much influence. So when it came down to it, it was all this Jedi, and there really wasn't any Sith. And so Anakin in the future, spoiler, brings balance to that kind of. Well, he kind of swings it the pendulum in the other direction, right? Like it's almost like he brought balance for a second, and then it just like swung into the evil stuff. And then people say, "Oh, Luke Skywalker, which is Anakin's son, is actually the one what the prophecy is about, and he brought balance to the Force." Kind of, but it always kind of gets swung in this pendulum where it's like good, like Sith, Jedi.
Technically, Darth Vader did finish the job.
Yeah, as Wob was saying, is I get the impression there was an interview I saw once from George Lucas that kind of basically said that Darth Vader's change of heart in throwing Palpatine down the shaft, thus killing Palpatine, was kind of him fulfilling the prophecy, because without Palpatine, and Darth Vader, of course, succumbing to his injuries, balance to the Force had more or less been finally achieved. That was, of course, I could be misremembering Lucas's interview, but that's generally what he was saying, that Return of the Jedi is all about fulfilling the prophecy of Anakin.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I'm not sure George Lucas knows what he was doing with the prophecy.
Probably not.
Probably not.
So,
Probably not.
I think
this is a
think it
person
was-
who justified adding in burrito shooting in New Hope later on because he'd felt Han would be irredeemable if he shot first. Despite the whole premise of this being the redemption of Anakin Skywalker, like, I don't think he always has fully thought this through. I think he's trying to retcon what he's done.
Oh, well, yeah, that's always been kind of true about George Lucas. There's a lot of myth around George Lucas and his writing, like, oh yeah, he always planned it this way. No, not at all. In fact, like, for example, we were talking about Luke and Leia being siblings. That wasn't something he came up with until like very, very late in development for, actually, it was Return of the Jedi where he finally settled on that, although there had already been hints of that in Empire Strikes Back, but he hadn't really fully had decided on it yet. And the whole thing about Darth Vader being Luke's father, that hadn't come up with until they were in the midst of working on Empire Strikes Back. And so, no, Lucas was always changing his mind on things and refining ideas and stuff, all throughout all the films that he worked on. Like I said earlier, in development of Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan was meant to be the same character, and then he decided to split it into two characters.
Are we still talking? We're still talking about the story, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
All of this there's a bit from the Clerks cartoon that I always just think of where they put George Lucas on trial. And the question he's asked during it is, isn't it true that you wrote this movie over a weekend but kept telling people it was done for years?
I don't think Lucas is a like a 5D chess type of guy. I think, he wrote a good story and he wanted to continue it. And so, like, in order for that to work, he had to retcon some of the story to kind of get it to kind of work together, and that's normal with story writing, especially if you're doing prequels and all this stuff. Like, it's going to get really rough when you start doing prequels because you kind of have to connect the dots in the right way, so.
Yeah. And to be fair, Lucas kind of got the idea to do these prequels in the first place because he was already in the midst of working on another prequel series in the early 90s. Ever heard of Young Indiana Jones? That was
yeah.
Yeah, that was a TV series that George Lucas worked on in the early 90s. And that's basically where he got the idea of doing some Star Wars prequels in the same fashion. And in fact, he enjoyed working with the team that did Young Indiana Jones so much that the vast majority of that same production team, film crew, pretty much producers and stuff, pretty much all of them were carried over from that television production into working with him on these prequel movies.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, Young Indiana Jones. I actually didn't. I don't. It came out a long time ago, but I think I had watched some of it as a child, but I don't really remember any of it.
I swore I watched a movie of it, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
fun. It is full of filler. Like I would say, like 90% of the show is filler episodes, but it's all
Yeah.
very high quality. It basically has pretty much most of the trappings of stuff that you would see later manifest in the prequel movies. So you have, extravagant sets, cool battles, and lots of people talking.
But not lightsabers.
No,
Right. So yeah, let's get back to the story for Star Wars, Phantom Menace. So yeah, Qui-Gon Jinn gets told no, like basically by the council, but he's like, I'm gonna take him on as my own, or whatever. Or no. He doesn't take him on. Sorry, correction. He asks Obi-Wan later to take him on, and Obi-Wan takes him on, right? That's kind of the case.
He says if something happens, take him as your Padawan.
Yeah.
And then they fly back to Naboo.
yeah.
And that's when the fun starts. That's when the war scenes start. That's when the infiltration starts. And then I love how Anakin just like gets into a starfighter and flies up and casually just like one shots the friggin' whole like defense force basically.
Mhm.
Yeah. He kind of lucks out a little.
Well, it can be tossed up to the force is guiding him in some way because he is the quote chosen one. But then we get to that climax and we get to the duel of the fates. And that is just one of the as a lot of people say, is probably the best lightsaber battle in the series.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, Duel of Fates is a pretty cool music track in and of itself. It's probably one of my favorite music tracks from the Star Wars franchise. I used to jokingly call it food music because if you listen to the lyrics, it almost sounds like they're singing like Corn on the Cob.
Yes. Yeah, so it's like the Duel of Fates is probably the most memorable scene from the entire film. And if you don't know what we're talking about, just think of the scene that you remember the most from watching this film, and it's that scene. It's the scene with Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan fighting Darth Maul. This is the scene that everybody remembers. Everybody was like, this is what Star Wars should be. Like, that's what I felt when I first saw that scene. I got goosebumps watching it with the music, like you were saying. It's like this. Is it Latin? Are they singing in Latin?
Yeah,
probably.
I think so.
Yeah, they're singing. It's like the Sephiroth type of thing.
It's like I was gonna say like One Winged Angel.
Yeah, when you get like a good Latin track in there, you know something's going down, right? Like something.
There's the Final Fantasy VII reference too. Yeah,
there it is. And so and it's the first time anybody ever saw a dual wielding lightsaber.
Oh, the double ended. Oh.
Yes, and he's standing there with the red lightsaber, and at first you're like, okay, they're about to have this battle, and all of a sudden you just see the other side come out. Boom, you're like, holy shit! Like it blows your mind because you're like, holy crap! Like no way. And so these two Jedi are fighting Darth Maul, and it's faster paced than you've ever seen in Star Wars up until this point. Like
they killed it.
The old Star Wars were kind of slow fights, they're kind of like sitting there, they're kind of feeling each other out, they're like,
well,
and they have,
with the older Star Wars lightsaber fights, since, they couldn't really, they didn't really have the technology or the budget to do extravagant choreography. the focus on earlier lightsaber fights were more about the themes or emotions going on rather than the fights
Yes.
themselves.
Totally.
With the prequel films, starting with this one, they definitely had much more budget and technology to really kind of go out there with like, no, this is how like fully trained, experienced fighters are going to fight.
And
I
then
also
Ray
like-
Park as Darth Maul just kills it.
Yeah.
I also like that at that point, like the lightsabers had become enough of a cultural spot for the people that are filming it that I think like Ewan McGregor had an issue with like it had
Not
to be like
making the
you
noise?
need to stop making the sound of a lightsaber while we're filming. We do that later.
Yeah. Yeah, he
I
kept
love
doing
that.
that
I
during
love him.
filming. Whenever he was swinging a lightsaber, he would make the little lightsaber sound.
Who was doing that? Wait, who was
Ewan
that?
McGregor, Obi-Wan.
Oh,
He would
Obi-Wan.
hum. He was humming while he's and they're like, no, Ewan.
And I just like that
Stop it.
there's that element of how entrenched this is that like at this point for the first one no one knew what it was going to become, and even through Jedi all the main characters are played by people who came in and effectively created this. Now you have people coming in who have an idea what it is already.
Yeah.
But the fun side part, I believe Ewan McGregor's uncle was Janice Lawson, who played Wedge in.
Yes, it was. And at the time, he actually kind of cautioned Ewan McGregor on accepting the role because he said that if you do a Star Wars film, don't expect to have a career after 30.
Wow. And he sure did. He had a career. I mean, it was mostly Star Wars, but
Yeah,
I
but
guess he
even he himself wanted to go back as Obi-Wan because of how much he loved the character. Like I can't think of I mean I watched the old ones first, but I still don't think anything but Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. And he I think in the new show it's him too, right? It's that actor.
In
Yes, it
which new
is.
show?
The Obi-Wans.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Obi-Wan series? Oh, it was I really liked the Obi-Wan series actually.
Yeah, it had
Okay.
Ewan McGregor in it, and they also
And Hayden
they actually
Christensen.
Hayden Christensen, and they actually had him in the Darth Vader costume.
It was so cool because like his helmet gets damaged and you actually see like half of Hayden Christensen's face, like Anakin's face, and like the voice modulator stops working and you hear his voice, but also like the electronic voice, like the James Earl
that's
Jones.
sick.
And
That's sick.
it's so cool.
And I think that's
Yeah.
actually like Hayden Christensen is sort of the exact example of why Ewan got that warning, because I think there's probably a case we made that Star Wars hindered Hayden Christensen somewhat for quite a while.
Why do you
liked-
think that is?
I liked
Do you think it was
Jump.
his acting? Do you think it's his acting?
I don't
that
think
people-
it's.
Well,
I don't really think
I
it's fair to put it on the acting, because I've seen other stuff that he did that he was doing at the same time, and I think some of it has to deal with things that we'll get into in the larger recap in terms of how this worked as a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
kind of like
because-
Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter. Like he doesn't act bad. He's in other things, but you just don't look at him and not see Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Hayden's acting actually jumps a lot from episode 2 to episode 3. I think like in episode 3 he kicks it up a notch. Like in episode 2 I feel like it was almost like he was kind of finding his like what the character was supposed to kind of act like, and then episode 3 he like nailed it. It seemed like to me.
There's a bit that Harrison Ford said that was roughly paraphrased: "You can write this stuff, but you can't say it." And I think that has meant for some actors that awkward and clunky dialogue is tough to act through, and that some of them end up getting a reputation for how they came across with that. And I think if they'd had better dialogue to work with, something that seemed more natural, their performances would have seemed better, just because that they had something better to work with.
Yeah, I will say something about this movie and the dialogue, and it's a lot of Star Wars movies. Is the dialogue isn't always the best. Like the Jedi always seem kind of like not robotic, but they seem kind of like I don't know, just I don't know how you would put it, but robotic's the best way I can put it. Like they kind of say like these one-liners, and it's like very formal, and it's like not a lot of emotion into it, you know.
I
So
think with the first Jedi Council, like in episode 1, the problem is that they're all the old, wisest, like older Jedi. So the way they're portrayed in the first movie, especially, is like just one line, super philosophical almost.
Mhm.
Whereas like the concurrent films, they like for instance Mace Windu, all he does is say a couple lines like the boy's dangerous, but then like later on he clearly because like I mean in episode 2 he kicks off.
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think part of it is, I think part of it is just George Lucas's writing style because, the way he kind of writes, it's like paragraph blocks of dialogue for characters, and also I think it's also partially on Lucas's style of directing. He himself has admitted he's never really felt at his best when he does directing work, but at the same time, he has such a particular vision for things that it's kind of hard for him to let someone else, actually do the directing. Now, to be fair, when making episode 1, he actually approached Robert Zemeckis, Ron Howard, and Steven Spielberg if any of those three would be willing to direct it, and Lucas just adopts more of a producer role, but each one of them turned it down for various reasons. Ron Howard
Yeah.
himself specifically said that, "No, this is your baby, and you have a specific vision, so you should direct it." I think also partially the reason why those three directors turned it down was because of what happened with Empire Strikes Back and um, Return of the Jedi, because George Lucas and the director of Empire Strikes Back kind of butted heads a little bit over how certain things were done in Empire. And it even got a little bit worse with the director that did Return of the Jedi, to the point that it was kind of the the story in Hollywood that, yeah, this guy directed it, but basically Lucas was the one calling the shots the whole time,
I mean,
even if he
Lucas,
wasn't the actual director.
you can look into pretty much any sort of development or production or direction story regarding Lucas, video game, movie, anything, and you can always tell. Like so many people mention, like you can have this great idea, but Lucas will have it Lucas's way.
Yeah, he seems
so
very
I-
hard to work with. Is kind of the key point.
I think on the
Yeah.
flip side is because it also gets talked about with New Hope that even though he was the director, he wasn't particularly good at managing the actors, which sort of is a big part of it. So you kind of have both A New Hope where he is the director, but
Mhm.
other people are doing things that would be within the directing, and then you get to other people are the directors, but he can't fully remove himself. And also it's worth noting, especially because at time of recording she just passed away, is his ex-wife, Marsha Lucas, who won an Oscar for the original New Hope. I think did not just editing of the movie, like the film editing of the movie, but I think also dialogue editing.
Mhm.
And so I do think that there's a big distinction that with the original trilogy that are very much viewed as, well, these are just like George Lucas's movies. He had a lot of very qualified people who were involved in that discussion who were not in the situation of a somewhat intimidating situation of, it's one thing to be doing Phantom Menace working with George Lucas, who 20 years ago revolutionized Hollywood. But
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely many angles to look at it. I mean, it's you can definitely sympathize with Lucas as kind of a frustrated creator because, when you're overseeing a project, you want to have things kind of match the way you want things done. And like Lucas himself said, he fully admits he's not exactly the best at directing, but at the same time, you want things to go a certain way, so it's kind of tempting to be the captain of the ship in every aspect of production.
Yeah,
And he
I
still
think
thought Jar Jar was a good idea.
Funny enough,
yeah, sure.
funny enough, do you know who originally auditioned to play Jar Jar?
Robert Downey Jr.?
No. The first
Tom
person
Hanks.
that actually approached to audition for the role of Jar Jar was Michael Jackson.
Oh God.
Really?
Okay, Lance,
Yeah,
go to the next topic.
He's like,
But George Lucas basically declined that audition because he felt like that Michael Jackson would be too distracting. Everybody would look at that and be like, it's Michael Jackson as an alien instead of it being Jar Jar.
I could
Misa
just
gotta bring you to the Gungan home.
me saying big doo doo. Like I just can't do it. Dude. It's too much. Like Jar Jar was too much as it was. I couldn't. I'm glad they didn't do Michael Jackson. It would be
would
way
not
too
have
crazy.
been their first time working on the same project, though. Weirdly enough,
Okay.
because George Lucas was an executive producer on Captain EO, starring Michael Jackson, which was a 3D ride or 3D movie at Disneyland.
Oh, okay. So they had a little connection there.
Yeah, it's sort of referred to as like the most expensive movie per minute ever made, I think.
Mhm.
Oh, with Michael Jackson. Yeah.
With Michael Jackson and the effects and how much they crammed
Okay.
into for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, probably anything with MJ is going to be expensive, regardless. But then you do special effects on top. Yeah,
Directed by
Still the
Francis Ford
2000s.
Coppola.
Yeah, so let's get back to the story, which we've kind of gone off the base several times with. Let's kind of
Sorry.
get No, it's okay. It's okay. There's a lot to talk about. So with the Darth Maul thing, very very cool. The Duel of Fates, awesome. At the end of it, Qui-Gon Jinn is killed, which is very ironic because he is considered on par with Mace Windu as far as sword fighting goes.
Yes.
There's a couple of people have
Also-
tried to reason this out a few times in a few different ways. Some said that maybe he was a little old and he just kind of wasn't up to it and his stamina lost it. Other people were saying maybe it was kind of like an Obi-Wan Kenobi thing where he kind of let it happen because it needed to happen. That's not the view I saw when watching the movie, because with Obi-Wan, it was very obvious when he's murdered that he let it happen. With this one, it's like it seems like it's not on purpose. How do you all feel about Qui-Gon being defeated in the way he was during this part of the film?
I just kind of feel like that it was just kind of more of like how in like Dungeons and Dragons how you might just like roll like a nat 20 or something like that. I just kind of feel like that Darth Maul just rolled a nat 20 on that one particular strike and managed to get him. Of course, keep in mind, as you mentioned earlier, with the Sith mostly being underground or hiding or virtually non-existent, when was the last time someone like Qui-Gon has actually gone up against an actual Sith Knight? Or
I
in this
don't
case,
think
Sith
that he
Apprentice.
would have by that time frame, because Darth Plagueis would have been the more recent of the Sith Lords, with Sidious as his apprentice. And I don't know if they actually. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Jedi engage with Plagueis, but the fall of Plagueis wasn't a Jedi's hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so maybe
And
he
then
just
after
didn't have that
Sidious,
experience.
after that, Sidious laid out his plan to take over the entirety of the Republic.
It almost seems like a common theme in Star Wars that when Jedi kind of meet their first Sith, they're not really prepared for it, because Sith first of all, they don't fight very fair, and they're a lot more powerful because of their selfish nature. And so they can have these set of skills that Jedi just aren't prepared for. Not to mention Darth Maul was very young and his stamina was through the roof. He was he had that on his side, so maybe at that point in the fight, Qui-Gon is just, he can't keep up anymore. And maybe it was Qui-Gon's ego a little bit, as far as like, I'm the best, fighter among the council, along with Mace Windu. Like, no one could defeat me in a sword fight. Sure enough,
I think he's more humble than that.
There's
Not to
maybe.
mention in the extended stuff, like Darth Maul is a very prominent fighter. Like he comes from the witch Dathomir. He's Dathomirian.
Yeah, and there's a tie-in comic that actually came out before the movie did. That was an introduction to Darth Maul in the Dark Horse comic canon, and it's a pretty cool first appearance. I don't have that particular issue myself, but Darth Maul is basically sent on a mission by Palpatine to basically, I don't know, assassinate a bunch of people for some reason, and these people are all like skilled fighters themselves. And they're like this warrior sect of some kind. And Darth Maul goes in and he's just like, like just slicing and dicing. But there's one that's like the leader of this sect that goes up against Darth Maul and is like, you've never met one of our kind before. And Darth Maul just kind of sneers, like, and you have never met my kind before. And just like dismembers that person.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like with the Jedi, like being able to read in a fight, they try to use the Force, but against a Sith, the Force is really clouded. And then not to mention he's Dathomirian, which probably gives it a harder time even to read from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not to mention also, that's a good point, that during Phantom Menace, the Force was very clouded. Like this was
Yes.
like a common theme that even Yoda was struggling reading like what was going on through the Force. He's like, I can't really tell. Like everything's so cloudy. It was like they had mind fog, like, the whole time. They had brain
I
fog.
kind of wonder if that was like Palpatine's doing. Maybe one of his powers
well,
is
yeah.
a cloudy day with a chance of Force visions.
It's funny because like the whole
Right.
reason for that is because the Dark Lord of the Sith is literally like their neighbor. So they're like, and Coruscant, they're like, I can't see anything in the Force, and then they like go out to like Tatooine. They're like, man, the stars are so nice out here.
One thing that a bunch of people could see is Qui-Gon's death feels like one of the most well-known accidental spoilers that a lot of people.
Was it spoiled for people?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Really hilariously, I think they've made it a point never to make, like, this was a lesson learned, is because there's a lot of cross-promotional stuff going on. One of the things that was out and available in advance of the movies, and it's been true for, I don't know if this is true anymore, because I don't think about people getting music anymore, but like when I saw Attack of the Clones, I had heard the music a lot beforehand because it was available beforehand. With Phantom Menace, the soundtrack was made available in advance. You could buy it. You could theoretically hear all the music.
Okay.
One of the tracks on the Phantom Menace soundtrack is called Qui-Gon's Noble End.
Oh.
Oops.
Okay. Well.
Oops. Yeah. Release it beforehand. It's like epic pod race. Qui-Gon fucking dies.
Anakin becomes Vader. Was that a track title too?
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, when I saw Mandalorian and Grogu, I joked with a friend right beforehand about something similar, just like of the music, like I said, that's of a Qui-Gon's Noble End reference, because it was just this thing that so many people, and everybody who was buying that beforehand was someone who was eager to go see the movie. That's why they were buying the music beforehand.
Yeah. I don't think it was spoiled for me. But that is so funny that it's just like a massive spoiler. Everyone's like, oh, well, he's going to die at some point, like
it wasn't.
That's a big thing too.
Yeah, it wasn't spoiled for me either, but it's definitely the sort of thing where I think, 3 years later, when I was much more when I was actively online,
yeah,
and just when more people were actively online, it would have absolutely spread more. Like that, the only reason I think it didn't spread as much was that you really had to have bought the album and looked at it and gone, "Oh, dang it!"
Why not just name it A Noble End?
Yeah, that would have been smarter.
I think this is the lesson. This is the lesson they had: is to not name something that overt again.
They probably didn't. Yeah, they probably didn't realize people were that attentive, or something like.
Or they
Yeah,
just didn't
"Oh,
think
we-"
about that it was going to come out before the movie. Like I think
or
they
something.
didn't.
Yeah.
There was not the connection of whoever was title of actively we're titling the songs officially now. Didn't think about, and then we're going to release this before the movie. So please don't
Yeah.
put things that are plot points in that.
Yeah, that's yeah. So
Main
he is
character's
killed.
dead.
Yeah. Main character dies. Everything dies.
Yeah.
And
Epic finale.
then Obi-Wan, he avenges his mentor Qui-Gon, and
Yeah.
that that was kind of funny too. The way Darth Maul gets like tricked on that is kind of, I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, even
Yeah,
like back at the time, people didn't know how to feel about that. I mean, I remember seeing like old like articles and discussions like what was like Darth Maul even doing in that scene? It's like why did he hesitate all suddenly? And there was like fan speculation and stuff, like because they were like people were like he should have just simply finished off Obi-Wan too.
Doesn't he mention something about
He
that in
also-
Clone Wars though? About how he was toying with his food and that ridiculous Obi-Wan. He's like lost his
Maybe,
mind.
like he like sees Obi-Wan do this cool flip over him, and he's like, "Wow, that was really cool." And then he like gets chopped in half. It's like, he was like so
Yeah.
shocked that Obi-Wan came back from it or something. He's like, "Whoa."
Okay, now
like,
here's
I
here's the
didn't
funny
expect that.
thing. George Lucas in an interview was asked once about why did he kill Darth Maul off, and he said it's like when I was doing further drafts, when I decided to have Qui-Gon be killed off by Darth Maul, he knew that everybody in the audience would be invested in having Darth Maul get his comeuppance, and he said that at one point he had thought about having Darth Maul just simply get away. He just leaves. He leaves like Obi-Wan hanging there. But then he was like, no, if I do that, then I'd be writing myself into a corner because then that would be a lingering plot thread that I would have to wrap up in the next film. Because then the whole plot would have to be about getting revenge on Darth Maul for Qui-Gon. And it's like, I didn't want to take the story in that direction. And so he's like, and so he said,
cut him in
I
half.
decided then and there that I needed to have Darth Maul killed off. And I needed to make sure he'd be killed off in a way that'd be absolutely certain that there'd be no way for him to come back.
And he does. And he does.
He sure does.
He does. Oh, I can't believe they brought him back in that animated series. That blows my mind. Well, spoilers. Palpatine is a big one. Okay, we're not gonna go into that. But I'm just saying, like, they keep on bringing these people back. Okay,
Maul is an understandable one. Okay, the dark side of the Force is very unpredictable in that way. If you hate that much, and he hated Obi-Wan that much, in the animated show, they expand upon that. He's obsessed with Obi-Wan. He's obsessed with getting that vengeance. But
yes.
Palpatine's just a whole stupid. Oh god, man! To change the subject.
That was way too much of a he's lost the will to die kind of excuse. Like it's just
the reason they brought him back, and we all know it. We all know the reason they kept him is because he was such a cool character that they didn't want to just throw him away. They were like, everybody loves his character.
Dark Side of the Force.
He's like, oh yeah,
because he gets 2 lines in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The actor that actually played Darth Maul, the actor that played Darth Maul actually said that there was a lot more scenes with him where he says stuff that just simply got cut for like runtime and stuff.
Ray Park did say that.
But Peter Serafinowicz, who voices him,
which is like, isn't there a voice and then Ray Park does like the action scenes?
Yeah.
Have you guys seen?
But anyway, I just think it's funny Lucas's reasoning for killing off Darth Maul.
It makes sense. I can understand his reasoning on that. Not that like I 100% agree with it, but I think it makes sense to me. Have you guys seen the Darth Maul fan animated or not animated, but fan made like series on YouTube? I can't remember what it's called, but it was incredibly good. Like I would say it was like almost on par with like the Star Wars movies. And I just wish I knew the name of it, but it was about like it was just a small short story of Darth Maul and fighting random Jedi. It was so cool, dude. Like I don't know how these like little fan series did so well. It was great.
Did they actually have like Ray Park actually play the role, or who
I
played
don't-
it?
That sounds like something Ray
I
Park
don't-
would do.
I don't know if it was him, but I mean, he looked like Darth Maul. It's worth a Google.
Wasn't there
Maybe I'll
actually,
find
like,
it after
something
this.
like Darth Maul that just like came out on Disney Plus just like last month?
Yes.
Oh, is there like
Maul
a Darth
Shadow
Maul
Lord.
series?
Oh yeah. Oh, no, he
Okay.
he doesn't leave the canon for a long time. Like, between right before episode 4, basically, is how far Maul gets.
Really?
Yes.
Oh yeah, because yeah, I don't know. I kind of like, as much as I think Darth Maul is a cool character, I think it just makes more sense if he just stayed dead after episode 1 because it
yeah,
really kind of muddles things.
No, his arcs in the animated series are like the top. Like there's Mandalore and then Darth Maul, and they're just the top.
Okay, but I didn't watch the Clone Wars show, so I don't really have an opinion on it outside of just outsider impressions. But
It goes so hard.
I will say, funny enough, in the mid 2000s, before they retconned Darth Maul into still being alive, there was actually a Dark Horse comic, I remember,
Oh,
that starred Darth Vader. And they had this huge, like, it was like 2-page long editorial thing where the editor, like, multiple times is like, we had this really cool idea. We got permission to do it from Lucas Books, but please, please, please don't be mad at us. We know it's non-canon. We know that Darth Maul died in episode 1, so don't be mad at us. This is non-canon. Don't take it as canon. We just wanted to really do this really cool idea. And the whole comic was Darth Vader versus Darth Maul, because the premise was that Emperor Palpatine sends Vader to Mustafar, where there's like some sort of weird ritual going on, some sort of like Sith ritual going on. And it turns out there's like these weird, like, offshoot heretical Sith cultists or whatever that are trying to basically resurrect a Sith Lord, and they basically summon like Darth Maul from the dead. And so Vader like kills like these Sith heretics or whatever, and then gets into this duel with like this undead zombie Darth Maul on Mustafar, and it's a really epic like issue. But the thing that stuck to me most was like they had like a 2-page editorial of basically the editor basically begging with fans to just bear with us. We just had this cool idea. Don't be mad at us.
Please let me explain. That's exactly what they're doing. That's. I mean, I would read it as a non-canon event. Why not? Yeah. So yeah, Obi-Wan kills him, and then we're getting towards the end of the movie here in the plot.
Yeah.
The Republic arrests the Viceroy, right? The Gunray. What's his name?
Yeah.
Gunray.
Newt Gunray.
And then this is a different plot point that we've missed, is that Palpatine is elected Chancellor because Senator Amidala needed help from the Republic, and they were or the Senate, and they basically told her, no, we don't want to interfere, or no, the Chancellor was like, let's figure it out. The old Chancellor, not Palpatine. He's like, let's figure it out or whatever. And then she's like, you know what? We need it now. I vote to remove him basically from power and get a new Chancellor. No confidence. And yeah. And so in this event, Palpatine is elected as Chancellor, which leads up to a bunch of things. And then Jedi Grandmaster Yoda promotes Obi-Wan to the rank of a Jedi Knight. And then he kind of reluctantly accepts Anakin as his apprentice. Because he wasn't on the same page as Qui-Gon. He was saying like, the Council said no, Qui-Gon. Why are we taking this kid in? But Qui-Gon's like, there's more to it, the Force, and he's like into this hippy dippy Force stuff, and so Qui-Gon's like,
Obi-Wan, you need to understand.
I can feel I had midichlorians. Qui-Gon kind of messed up a lot of stuff, but honestly, at the same time, again, the balancing of the Force. But no, yeah, and so. Qui-Gon's funeral happens, and there's still a Sith Lord out there. You don't really know who he is yet at this point in the series. But I mean, if you watch the series at all, you know who it is, like from the first movie. And so yeah, and then they have a whole victory ceremony on Naboo. Like they defeated that. They had that. They defeated the Trade Federation in this circumstance, even though it's not the end of them. And and the Naboo people and the Gungans kind of have this reconciliation, and they're friends now. So
Yes.
yeah,
And we get the memorable line from Boss Nass that basically where he declares peace near the end of the film, and then you also have I think it's like Yoda and Mace Windu discussing whether or not who they killed was either the master or the apprentice.
yeah. Yeah, and it was the apprentice, which is kind of like a big deal because if it was the master, then it's like, okay, now the person below him is like less of a threat, but
But
because it
also
was the
kind of a
apprentice,
stupid meeting. They're like,
right?
well, he killed a Jedi Master, so that's pretty big. But then the Jedi, like the Padawan, killed him. So like, is there a chance that he's like the apprentice or the master? It's kind of like, don't you think the Sith Master would probably be a little more formidable?
Yeah. Yeah, the Jedi Council is like not as wise. I don't know. They're pretty for being a Jedi Council, they're kind of dumb sometimes. I,
For real.
yeah,
There's an element of
like they just
complacency.
yeah, maybe that's what it is. They just like have gotten so used to being in power and not ever having anything threaten them that all of a sudden like they're kind of out of practice and they're kind of complacent.
Yeah, and I
So
think
that makes sense.
that holds for the Old Republic as well. That there's this element of complacency which allows these other factions sort of to position themselves in a way to topple it.
Yeah. Now, I will say that there is a ton of Star Wars comics and novels that try to fill in the blanks and explain what the Jedi Council is basically up to in between and during the events of the movie to try to hand wave away the fact of why they're kind of inactive. And it's mainly just because there's a lot of other stuff going on that keeps distracting them.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the end of the movie. And I kind of we kind of did glance over some of the characters, and I kind of want to go into a little bit more of them. But the Qui-Gon Jinn, if we haven't said already, is acted by Liam Neeson, which I think is a great pick. I really loved Liam as Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn was my favorite character in the film. How do you guys feel about Qui-Gon's character?
I really like Qui-Gon. He's basically kind of like what Old Ben was like in the first Star Wars movie, which kind of makes sense given that, well, originally this was supposed to be Obi-Wan.
But
Oh, that
secretly
does make sense.
Irish.
But secretly Irish. Where'd you get that accent? Don't worry about it. It's like, okay. Yeah, and I kind of made fun of his hippy dippy nature, but I think it's actually kind of cool because he's like, again, not a rebel, but he is more traditional in the fact that he just kind of follows what he feels the Force is taking him to do, rather than just being like super formal with the politics of the council, which I think is kind of a cool character. Maybe I wish there was more Qui-Gon content. Maybe I feel like his life was a little short-lived for the prequels. How do you guys feel about it?
I mean, I would have definitely like appreciated more Qui-Gon in my life. But then again, the whole reason why the track is called Duel of Fates is because it's a duel of fates. If Qui-Gon wins, Anakin's future is going to be different. If Qui-Gon dies, then Anakin's fate is going to be Darth Vader.
Oh,
I am amused with the framing of his life being cut short because there is, I think, a good song parody of Candle of the Wind called Goodbye Qui-Gon Jinn.
okay.
It is like the tribute song to his sudden death before we've gotten to know him better.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
That I do recommend seeking out.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's you don't. he's such an interesting character, and it's just not his character's not highlighted that well. I mean, it is for the film, like for the time you're given, it's great, but there just could have been so much more to it.
I think there's a lot of other things that had to get done, so you don't get as much with Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah. I feel like what was the runtime of this film? It was probably less than 2 hours, wasn't it? I feel like they could have put more into it.
2 hours, 11 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's over 2.
Yeah,
I was going to say, is there a Star Wars movie that's under 2 hours?
Yeah. According to Jake Lloyd, the first cut of the film was 6 hours long before they trimmed it down.
I want to
2
watch
hours.
that.
Dude, that's what that we need an extended.
I hope it's 3 hours of politics.
Yeah, and Jake Lloyd said that he loved the 6 hour cut. He thought it was great, but unfortunately, he wasn't allowed to keep a copy of the 6 hour cut.
Imagine 45 full minutes of Palpatine just checking through documents with that weird guy with the spiky horn tendril heads in the background just standing there.
Yeah, it's just
sir, don't forget to initial there.
It's actually 4 hours of pod race. 2 hours of everything else.
Oh fuck yeah! Sign me up.
Jeez.
Show me more pod race or maintenance.
The pod racing was super cool. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but the pod racing is, I would say that's the other part of the film that's the second most memorable part of the film is the pod racing.
It seems like people that don't like the film seem to like the pod race scene.
Yeah, the graphics were. Go ahead.
The aforementioned Clerks cartoon, which George Lucas is on trial for this, the opposing counsel does say, "Objection, Your Honor, the pod race scene was pretty cool."
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's funny. I'll say graphics, and it actually tilts people because they're like, it's called special effects in movies. Whatever, dude. They're graphics regardless. The graphics were
right. I mean, it's so close to what video game graphics look like these days. It's interchangeable now.
Yeah, people.
What's fascinating with that aspect is a narrative formed so quickly that it was overly reliant on CGI. I remember having interactions with people that would complain about, for example, the crowd scenes during the pod race scene being bad CGI. And they were models. They were practical. There's a lot of practical effects.
Yeah, I think the over-reliance on CGI is a more accurate, criticism of the second and third film. But the first film, they're still using a lot of practical effects, including, Yoda was still a puppet in this film.
Oh yeah, yeah, he was. Oh, that always throws me for a loop because he's a puppet in 4, 5, 6, and then also 1, but then in 2, he moves normally.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. I think in the reworked versions, what is it? When you see Yoda, is it in episode 5?
5 and 6.
5 and 6. I think they also change them to special effects, right, or graphics or whatever. Yeah.
I think they keep them mostly as.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 4, 5, 6 remain relatively like Yoda does, but I think in episode 1 of the remaster, he is generated. I don't think he's a puppet.
Yeah, I think later releases they did CGI Yoda in episode 1, but I think the original theatrical and most of the original home releases, it's still puppet.
Yeah, maybe it's just like an action scene. They happen to CGI him in the remakes of the other ones. Like he does a flip or something. I don't know. Anyways.
Oh, he's completely generated in any time he's doing flips. That's in 2 and 3. He just sits and talks in episode 1.
Yeah.
Hey, Kermit the Frog can do it.
Is there an over reliance on CGI? I don't know. They could have definitely did a couple of scenes where there weren't CGI, but CGI really at the time that was kind of the thing, to make stuff CGI.
I think I wouldn't frame it as that there's an over reliance of CGI per se, so much as I think a lot of good things in terms of creativity come out of limitations.
Mhm.
And I think the
Okay.
point where they felt they weren't constrained kind of meant it was like, well, we can just do this rather than have to think about it. Like to use the non Star Wars Jason example, like Jaws wanted to have the shark born, just practically they couldn't do it. I think it's a strong example of this wouldn't have worked if you could have done what you wanted to do. When you get into Star Wars, so much of it was practical for the original trilogy, but they were limited to what they could manage. And I
Yeah.
think as you get to less pressures, there's still certainly cases where it works. But you
Mhm.
also see what happens when with the special edition, when George Lucas was just told, like, you can just do CGI wherever now. And he was relatively unconstrained in terms of budget. And he could kind of just go like, well, I've decided we should also do this. And not all of those plenty were not necessary. And I think some more actively detrimental.
Yeah. I would like to know if I watched the special edition this last week. I'm trying to
Oh,
think of it if
yes.
it was. It was on Disney
You would have
Plus.
what? Oh, sorry, remaster or special? Because anytime, unless you have like an original DVD, you'll watch the remasters.
It must
I
have
mean,
been the
I have the
remaster then.
VHS copy myself.
I mean, even with the original Star Wars, I think the closest you can get to you might have finally done a more original version. But for a long stretch, even if it was pre-special edition, there were still changes. I think you had to go to the
Yeah.
Laserdisc if you wanted as authentic as you could get without getting your hand on film somehow.
Yeah.
I think the CGI was really good for the pod races. I thought that was fantastic for
Oh,
the
yeah.
time.
I think
I was like, these were well done. So,
and I think like the pod races scene is like a good example where it's like you have this is what we want to do. We want to have this sort of Ben-Hurish kind of chariot thing
Mm-hmm.
in
The pod
a
race
sci-fi
always
world. So like something
holds
that
a
was like,
special
okay,
place.
this is what we need. This justifies this, but I think a lot of times it was just like, well, let's just throw some CGI on top of this or some extra effects.
sprinkle some CGI.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like if you're putting it on everything, you may be overusing it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Of course, like I said, I think that criticism is much better lobbied against episode 2 and 3, where I think it is a lot more egregious there. But I think here, I think you can excuse some of it because, like I said, there is a lot more practical effects here. And, well, to be fair, this is technically the reintroduction of the Star Wars universe. So you probably want to try to populate it as much as you can with things to make it look more alive.
Mm. Yeah, I watched episode 2, and I'm watching rewatching episode 3 this week too as well. Episode 2 has some weird CGI where it's like characters are doing flips, and they'll CGI the character to do the flip, and it looks a little bit off. You're like, well, that was kind of weird. When they could have probably had the actor do it or whatever. So those were instances where I felt like CGI maybe wasn't used the best. Like if you could get a natural human to do what you wanted to do, then just use the human, but that's kind of how I feel about that. So yeah. Let's go on to Ewan. How you say his name? Ewan McGregor? Obi-Wan?
Ewan McGregor.
Kenobi? Sorry, you go. Wait, what was it?
Ewan McGregor.
Win.
Ewan
Yes.
McGregor. Conor McGregor. He played. Oh no, just kidding. Ewan McGregor.
Great. Now I'm
Can you
just
imagine
imagining Obi-Wan doing that Conor McGregor arm swinging.
You imagine
Come
Conor
on,
McGregor.
homeboy, let's do it.
What, you want to go? He's just
swinging his lightsaber around.
You ain't nothing. You ain't nothing. But yeah,
Taps his hands behind his face.
I think he's also Irish, but different. Different guy, much different. Yeah. So, how do you feel about Obi-Wan Kenobi's character? How he was portrayed in this film?
I love Obi-Wan.
Okay.
I thought Obi-Wan was great. Of course, like I said, in my preferred universe, I think I would have made Qui-Gon Obi-Wan, and I would have made Obi-Wan in this film Anakin. But that's just me. But I think Obi-Wan was fine in this film.
I feel like I had whiplash from what you just described.
I don't know. I just kind of feel like that if I was George Lucas and I was making this prequel trilogy, I would have probably just simply made Obi-Wan's character in this film Anakin, and I would have made Qui-Gon Obi-Wan. Obviously, there would have been some plot changes here and there, but you know.
I hope you would keep the midi-chlorians.
I'm kind of on the same page with you because I feel like I like Obi-Wan a lot more in episode 3. Like that's when I think Obi-Wan is like really shines. But like in episode 1, he kind of is like really basic in my opinion. Like I feel like
He's
a
mostly
bad
there
one.
to be introduced to other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And that's probably why he feels that way to me. He like just doesn't seem to have I don't know, like a big personality. Like Qui-Gon like overshadows him like so much in this film as far as personality goes and interest. Obi-Wan is a Padawan, so he's just kind of there and he's just kind of like following, whatever Qui-Gon does, and that's fine. That's what he was meant to do. But for the film, I think it just makes him less interesting, is what I would say.
It's basically just Qui-Gon's +1 for the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That hurt to hear. But I feel like I'm ready to accept it. I feel like I just went through therapy through that. But yeah.
Don't worry. I feel differently about him in the other films. I think he comes into his character really well. Starting in 2 and then really well in 3. Like in 3, he's fantastic. Like he is so good as the contrast to Anakin. But like in this one, it was just like, yeah, he was kind of there. He wasn't a bad character, and he wasn't egregious or did any disservice. And it's not even like I disliked him. It's just like I felt like they could have, maybe not, maybe really not, because it was mostly about Qui-Gon and Anakin. Made him a little more interesting, have a little bit more personality in the first one. But he was fine. It's like his start of his story. So it's okay.
Liam Neeson also did the majority of his own stunts in this film.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's because he's
pretty
nuts,
cool.
though.
Yeah. I have a certain set of skills. Dude, he's so cool. Have you all seen that Taken? You've all seen Taken?
Yes.
I think so.
I have not.
The only thing I can think of when I hear Taken is my one friend that won't shut up about how Fallout games all follow the Taken formula, just rearranged.
Okay, I'd never heard that before, but
Fallout 3 is just Taken but reverse. The kid is trying to find the dad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have a certain
Fallout
set of
4
skills.
is just Taken.
I was raised in a vault, and I don't know what I'm doing. But no, yeah, Taken was a great film. Liam Neeson did fantastic in that. I think this was actually before Taken. I want to say this was made before Taken.
Way
Oh,
before.
long
10
before
years,
Taken.
almost 10 years.
So anytime when I saw Taken, I was like, oh look, it's Qui-Gon Jinn. That's what I was saying. I was like, oh, that's Qui-Gon.
I thought that in
Like,
Batman.
Yeah, that's Qui-Gon, but he's like gone in a different direction. That's actually, you know what?
The bad side.
That's the isekai of Qui-Gon Jinn, is that when he dies in this universe, he actually wakes up in the Batman universe and starts the or he's part of the whole fucking what do you call that thing?
I don't remember.
What's their clan
What
called?
was Ra's al Ghul's-
What
was that?
The Ninja Clan?
Yeah,
I don't
Ra's al
know, dude. I
Ghul's,
don't know what
League of Shadows.
The League of
League of
Shadows. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Dude. Oh my gosh, that was killing me that I couldn't think of
Oh
that.
yeah, dude.
And you roll back to before then when he was in Krull in the 80s.
I don't think I've seen it.
Wasn't this Ewan McGregor's big debut?
I want to say
Might have been. I think he
definitely
did like some. I think he did Train Spotter.
Oh, yeah.
I think Trainspotting. I think Velvet Goldmine. I think might have been before this, and a bunch of stuff he had done before was not the same kind of movie
Wow,
as Star
it's
Wars.
Star Wars.
At all.
Yeah.
They were very different.
Yeah.
but yeah,
Who's
no,
next character?
I feel okay. Yeah, next character. Let's go. Natalie Portman. Padme, Queen Amidala. How do you guys feel about her?
I think she's fine in episode 2 and 3. Here, I don't really have much of an opinion on her. She's very stoic, and she looks like a kabuki doll.
Yeah. Well,
but I
yeah,
had
she
such
kind
a
of has
crush
this.
on her.
I think a lot of people did growing up.
Yeah.
Like when they were kids. Like Padme was kind of like Natalie Portman. Why did I
Yeah.
not make that connection that it was her as a young woman, like or girl, a young
I
girl?
mean, it's partially because it's not always her.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's it because she has the substitute or whatever.
Yeah, which I think in that one I think is Keira Knightley.
Yeah, one thing is funny is apparently Knightley and Natalie Portman look so identical to each other that the mother of Natalie Portman actually mistaken Knightley as Portman for one day on set.
Wait, hold up. Okay, hold up. Is Keira Knightley in the? She's
No.
in. Is
No,
she
no,
in
no.
the? Wait, okay. What's going on here? It's Natalie Portman throughout the whole series, isn't it?
It's
Yes.
It's always Natalie Portman as
Okay.
the character,
Okay.
but she Queen Amidala uses decoys for not being killed purposes. So like one of the big examples is actually when they have to get the Gungans on their side and they kind of do the initial speech. It is
Yes.
not Natalie Portman giving it because it is
Right.
not her character. It is one of the decoys as Queen Amidala.
And
Yeah, I
that's
didn't
You
Keira
really
also
like
Knightley.
the
get the
bait and
same
switch.
thing when they go into Tatooine, where
Mhm.
Queen Amidala is like, take one of my handmaidens, and it's sending the real queen in with them in her disguise as non-makeup Padme.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of confusing. It's one of the things that they do like multiple times in that film, and it's like so like understated that it kind of goes over a lot of people's heads. Like even I kind of get confused on which scenes is the real Amidala and which scenes is actually supposed to be, the fake one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I realized like she was being swapped out, the entire time, but yeah, you're right. They do with the makeup on, they look very similar. So yeah, Natalie Portman. Wow. So that for reference, that is the same woman who plays in Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Same chick.
That's Keira Knightley. No, I'm screwing with you.
No, don't do this to me because I'm like it's got to be Natalie Portman, right? That's the same girl.
No, Natalie Portman is not in the Pirates movies.
Oh, what? Wait, who's in the Pirates of the Caribbean? Who is that?
Oh,
That is
it's Keira
Knightley.
Knightley in Pirates.
No way.
It's Keira
Okay.
Knightley in Pirates. Yes.
What else is What else is Natalie Portman in? What other movies is she in?
Before this, she was in Leon the Professional.
Yeah, and that's actually the movie that Lucas saw that convinced him to cast Portman for this movie.
Okay.
Yeah, and then and so you have that on one end, and you've got Academy winning performance in Black Swan.
Oh yeah.
Which is kind of one of those other examples where I'm like, there's parts of this where people are like, wow, Natalie Portman's not doing a great job at this role. And it's like, yeah, I've seen her put in amazing work on either side of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that Star Wars may be a part of the common factor here.
Yeah. There's a George Lucas shaped specter in the writing and directing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's fine. I think she did fine acting in this film. I don't think it was okay. Like whatever. That's like her character is somewhat interesting, I feel. Like she has this role as a queen who has voting and a senator, basically.
She's not a senator yet.
No.
So
the
way the politics work in the
she's the queen of the planet. Palpatine is the senator that represents the planet. Then you get you get a whole shifting of powers once Senator Palpatine ascends to power.
Yeah.
That gives the opportunity for her to stop being queen because of elections somehow, because I don't get how their monarchy is weird and not how that should work.
Yeah.
But they have like a couple terms, like on Naboo. Like she was her terms were up, and then it was time for a new queen.
Yeah, I
That
just feel
being
like
said,
term limited as queen is weird.
it is weird. It's a weird concept. That being said, she voted with the no confidence in the first film, which maybe thought that she also had like Senate power.
She calls for it, I think, more
Calls
than
for it,
does
yes.
the vote. Yeah.
I think she
It's
had
more
like the authority to like file an appeal, and also
'Cause it was her
file for no
planet.
confidence. But I think all she could do was just make that appeal, and it had to be up to everyone else to actually follow through with that request for a vote of no confidence. And I don't know if maybe Palpatine was using like some Sith things to maybe help sway the Senate to go ahead with that, or maybe she's just that persuasive.
It's if you can convince people that the current government is failing to act, you can get them to kind of take whatever change you offer them.
Did Queen Amidala in the first film have a senator under her?
Palpatine is the senator that represents Naboo.
Represents Naboo.
So he was the senator that represented Naboo. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Got it. That makes more sense. Because I knew he was a senator, I just didn't realize he was the one for Naboo. I knew they were like kind of talking the film and like kind of figuring stuff out, but that makes
Which
sense.
also
Okay.
probably meant that it must have been very confusing for the Trade Federation. It's like, wait, you want us to blockade your own planet? Yes.
Well, I don't think they really did they know his true identity?
I don't think so.
They did, but I think it's funny.
I think the Sith as when he was representing himself as Sidious, he was basically telling them that like I have people in the Senate who can like take care of stuff. I think is kind of what he was.
One of my favorite lines from Sidious in this film was, "I will make it legal."
I do think it's worth.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about the Trade Federation and the politics of this, just because I think that this was weird at the time, and I think has gotten forgotten with time. Is like the character that's representing the Trade Federation in the Senate is Lot Dodd, which is just straight up those names are just the two last names of two U.S. senators at the time. Was I think
There's also E.T.
Trent Lott and Chris Dodd, I think, and it was this
Okay.
odd bit of just like you just took two senators' names and put them in there. It's very clear what you've done.
Okay.
Oh, wait. This is the movie that has the ETs in the background, right?
Yes.
Does it?
Yes, and it
Yes.
also is the same movie that actually has the torso of the Terminator in Watto's shop.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so funny because
The
Spielberg is the
T500?
one who did E.T., right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
They're
it's kind of
good
a bit of an.
friends.
You do have the bit of a reverse nod because in ET, when they sneak ET out during Halloween and there's trick or treating, and he's kind of freaked out, the one thing he spots and starts walking to, like he recognizes it, is a kid dressed as Yoda.
I love that just goes full circle.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, Amidala. Anybody love, hate her? I mean, any other feelings about her?
Most of the
like I
characters in this
said, I think
movie
she's
suffered growing
okay.
pains.
I think
Yeah.
she's okay, just not all. Her makeup and headdress is more memorable than she is. And for what I understand, that headdress was a nightmare to work with.
Oh, a
Uh,
kabuki doll.
Yeah. But yeah, for what I understand, any time that she went through a door, the headdress was bigger than the door, so she would always have to kind of go in sideways because if it didn't, the top of that headdress would hit the frame of the door, and it would twist basically the headdress on her head and neck, and would put a lot of pressure on her neck.
Why not
Oh.
put the headdress on her in the room? That just seems like an unnecessary additional step.
Maybe it was hard to put on or something. I don't know.
I can't believe I didn't even think of the makeup, Sonny. The kabuki doll. Like, wow, yeah.
I mean, I
She is.
think it is interesting that just like everything I remember about that character as a character out of that movie is Padme scenes.
Yeah.
Like the Queen
Yeah.
very much is a formal thing and is sometimes her. Whereas I think Padme has a lot more ability to move, in part because she's not. The reason that character exists is so that the character of Padme can do things that the Queen can't. So,
Yeah.
in a sense, that also gives the character freedom to have more personality in those scenes.
Yeah,
Kind of
she's kind of
stupid that's a thing, you know. Like she's not really being the queen if she's out gallivanting across the galaxy.
I mean, I
she's
think
having
it
fun.
allows her to get to see what's going on. Like in the case where she's doing that on Tatooine, really, it's less of a go have adventure. It's more like have them take me so that I can keep an eye on what they're doing. I think there's even a bit where she questions Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon's like, "The Queen trusts my judgment." And I
Yeah,
think it's
and
later implied that like he's fully aware who he's talking to, but he is sort of calling the bluff, so to speak. But it's her way of gaining information and being present in situations where, as the Queen, either it wouldn't be allowed or people wouldn't act the same way, or she needs the protection.
it kind of makes sense, like, and plus it also, if she's accompanied by the Jedi, technically she's probably in the safest position she could be in,
Yeah,
as far
I think
as like, yeah,
I think when she reveals it herself at the end and steps forward, like I'm actually the real Queen. I think it is that like Obi-Wan gives it a glance and Qui-Gon just does not react to it. So I think the implication is like he's known the whole time, even when he said stuff to her, who he was
yeah,
talking to.
yeah. She's a kind character, but she's also professional. She's very young. She's only 14 years old. I don't know if that's how old the actress was, but and the character Padme is 14 in this film. But she's a bit older than Anakin. And she's a little bit more professional, but she's also cares about people. She's kind of like a caring person. But I think her character is fine for the first film. It's okay. It's fine. Um, now let's go on to a probably, I don't know if you want to say a more interesting character, but definitely a more prominent character of the series, and that's Anakin Skywalker. Um, Anakin in this film is only 9 years old, and he's a slave, and he's a very hopeful, optimistic boy. He's very encouraging. He's kind. He helps the Jedi kind of get into take shelter in his home, and he's just got a lot of aspirations. He's like, I'm gonna fly all the planets, and I'm gonna be a pilot or whatever, And he's very hopeful. He's not evil. There's no ounce of evil in him at this point in time. How do you guys feel Anakin was portrayed in this film?
Um,
Well,
Anybody else want to bite this one?
I'll start. So, first of all, I think as a kid, as a child actor, I'm sure that Jake Lloyd did all right. I've heard Ian McGregor say that he was great to work with. It was quite the practical jokester on set. I just think that they made Anakin too young in this film. I think I would have probably, if it was I think I would have made Anakin, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years younger, maybe cast someone that was a little bit older than Jake Lloyd. I just think he was a little too young in this film. I mean, you know, especially given especially since you're going to be pairing up Anakin with Padme in the next couple of films. I just kind of feel like that they should have made Anakin a little bit older. I think
Yeah.
him being as young as it is kind of stretches the plausibility of him, doing the pod racing and flying the Naboo starfighter at the end. I mean, sure, in universe it's explained because he's just that gifted, and he's the Force and stuff like that. But if you strip the Force out of the equation, it really kind of stretches the belief a little bit that this kid is able to build robots, fly basically a chariot with 2 jet engines at the front of it, and then fly a spacecraft at the end. And if they made him more of like a teen, I think it would have been a little bit more plausible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with you that he could have been a little bit older. especially shipping him and Padme together in later films. I think it makes it kind of weird that Padme's like interested in him, even in the second or episode 2 and 3. It works. It's just like you said, could have been older, and also I think him being older would have been more would highlight more of the fact that he's like too old to be a part of the Jedi Council, or not Jedi Council, part of the Jedi.
I
so-
think that I just think that there's nothing wrong with Jake Lloyd himself. I just think that it was just a miscasting in general.
But do you think that line would have stuck? It's working. It's working. Do you guys know what line I'm talking about?
Yes.
I don't think that would have stuck if it was someone else. Like, oh man, that's like one of the lines I remember the most for some reason. Why does everyone remember that so much? Was it like
I don't
goofy?
know,
I suppose
probably.
his hitting on Padme would not be as cute if he was older.
Maybe, yeah. Like, I guess. So.
Like,
I
there
mean,
is
I feel like
something
12 is still.
There's something that feels innocent about it. Just
and then it gets really creepy in episode 2, dude.
Oh,
You're like, what the? You're like, this is creepster zone.
I don't know. I kind of like how he handled it in episode 2 for some reason.
Dude, the stare he gives her in that room.
You're not supposed to feel like lovey-dovey about it. It's supposed to be, I don't know, it's weird.
It's almost like he cast a spell on her to even make her fall in love with him. It's kind of weird.
Spell on you.
Like,
Well,
you know, like
Jedi have that mind tricks.
yeah, I mean, maybe he's just slowly working it. Like, he's like, it works on the week, but if I do it long enough, then maybe she'll change her mind. But yeah, it was weird.
I would have liked seeing some sort of tiny bit of like force sensitivity in Anakin. But you only really get just the pod race scene with him and then the flying scene, but you don't really ever see him do much. You know?
I mean, now to be fair, you don't really see much force sensitivity in Luke either in his first film. I mean, you're told about it. I mean, he handles a lightsaber, but he never actually displays any what we would consider these days to be force powers until, I guess, the last scene in the film where he decides to just use the force to aim instead of the targeting computer.
It's a little bit with the training remote on the Falcon as well.
Yeah. You know, he's actually able to block it with the visor down.
Yeah, so I don't
cool.
mind Anakin's being. You know, I mean, they explain it, but it's like, yeah, you're the only human that can do this. That's suspicious.
Yeah. I'm kind of, so I'm with you, Sonny, as far as making him a little bit older. I do get the innocent argument. It would have been maybe a little bit less settling if he was like maybe 12. I think 12 would have been a good number for him, but yeah, maybe a little young. But I think for the Jake Lloyd did well for the film. I think he did fine. Now Jar Jar Binks. Let's talk about everybody's favorite character.
That poor actor. That poor actor.
Ahmed Best.
It's tragic how it just destroyed his career.
Jar Jar. Yeah, Jar Jar. Okay, I want to say I get why he's in the film because he's kind of like comedic relief, for people to kind of like laugh at and have a good time. I think Jar Jar it was too much Jar Jar. I think that really was the problem. What do you guys think?
I just kind of think that Jar Jar. I just don't really know what Lucas was kind of thinking with Jar. Maybe he was thinking, since this is kind of technically a lighter film, he needed, something to kind of appeal to younger audiences, and Jar Jar could serve as that comic relief. I do think it's also funny that outside of Michael Jackson, another person that wanted to play Jar Jar was Tupac.
Oh, okay.
That would have been absolutely phenomenal.
I don't even know what Tupac sounds like, but that would have been just a way different character, I feel like.
Real gruff and hood.
He's like, Mexico doo-doo. I don't know what it is. Like, Oh, I don't know, dude.
Whether you like it or not, this war will affect the entire planet. Yeah, listen up.
Yeah.
But
I
I mean, I think Jar Jar is a much better character when you can't hear his voice when you're reading the comic adaptation. I'll put it that way.
I feel
Sure,
like
yeah.
he just shouldn't have stuck around the whole movie. Like little bits here and there, but he's it's like a Final Fantasy game. You get one character, you're just like, oh, I don't want him in my party, but it's like I don't have anybody else to put on right now.
Yeah.
I
He was
do
there a
agree with
lot.
the idea of if you remove elements of Jar Jar, it gets better. Because I'm
Mhm.
like, if I could remove hearing him and the seeing him,
And him existing.
yeah, because there's some stuff that is just real frustrating to me in terms of
I
his
think I think if they
existence
just
in the
like
battle.
kept Jar Jar to like the Naboo scenes, like maybe if they just left him off on planet to maybe help, I don't know, organize a resistance or something, and
You
then just
think?
bring him back when they return to Naboo, that might have worked better. I don't know.
I mean, what does he really contribute to the team?
Well,
He
I know he
causes
contributes
shit
in
in
episode 2.
Tatooine, and then what? He does nothing in Coruscant.
Mhm.
He's just there for the ride.
I mean, I don't know. I think it was comedic relief, but way overdone. Too much. Like just way
Yeah.
too much. Like they took a knob and instead of it being like a 4, they were like, we're taking this and turning it into like a 10 or 11. You know, it's like we don't want this much Jar Jar. Like it's okay he's there, but why so much? It's too much.
Probably
In
because of
his
Ewoks.
character arc
They
ends
they made
super
a
tragically.
I think it was probably the whole Ewoks thing. Ewoks was a huge success from
I was
Return of the
thinking
Jedi.
Ewoks too.
Yeah, and I think they were probably wanting to get that Ewoks money again with Jar Jar. And they were like, "Hey, instead of a cute teddy bear, how about a cute like amphibian guy? And
He's
how
not
about
cute.
let's make him funny?" I know he's not cute, but that was probably their logic.
They
What
ruined it by
was
not making him cute.
what was that movie about the Ewok?
Are you thinking of Caravan of Courage or Battle for Endor?
I don't know. What was the little Ewok's name?
Wicket?
Yes. Okay, I think that was the first Star Wars movie I ever watched.
I don't think I've seen it.
It's animated.
Okay.
Oh, if you're those two are live action. If you're thinking animated and Ewoks, I think you are thinking of Ewoks cartoon.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, probably. Yeah,
There
that
was
sounds right.
an Ewoks cartoon that had 2 seasons.
Yeah,
Oh,
Hmm.
crap. That was
yeah,
probably it then. It's probably my introduction.
yeah. The
Good
live
thing it wasn't a Star
action,
Wars Christmas special.
yeah, the live action Ewoks films are interesting. The first one is like a family adventure, and then the start of the second film, basically the whole family gets massacred.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So
And like
have you
the
guys?
one kid
My
that
bad.
survives basically has PTSD for like the rest of the second Ewok film.
Jesus Christ, Sonny.
That's dark. What's going
One
on
of the
here?
people that one of the developers of the Ewok cartoon was Paul Dini, go on to like Batman the Animated Series and stuff.
Oh damn.
Okay. That's kind of cool. So have you guys heard the fan fiction theory that Jar Jar Binks is actually a Sith Lord?
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
I have.
everybody has. I love the little nods and shout outs they do to that in some of their like it's not even extended universe stuff. It's like their joke extended stuff, like in like the Lego Star Wars stuff.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I
I
think it's a very hilarious idea. Is it something I would ever want to see canon? No, but I
No.
think it's hilarious.
because Jar Jar Binks, by the second movie, is the one who kind of votes for Palpatine to have his powers,
Yeah,
and
that backfires
he's
bad on him, doesn't it?
oh yeah, well, Palpatine was like, if only somebody could be here to vote and help the entire universe. And then, Jar Jar being as stupid as he is like, okay, like I'll help because I don't want to, I feel bad.
Man,
Which
I
makes his
miss
character even less likely. I mean, less liked.
I miss when having a senator that seemed that dumb felt unrealistic.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, he just yeah, I don't know. The fan theory's fun. I don't think there's any actually good like accreditation to it. I think it's just kind of fan theory. Like that he's kind of secretly working the scene behind the scenes and doing all this stuff.
No, in one of the books afterwards, like the more recent years, his story's all wrapped up, and it's pretty much just he's homeless on Naboo, and nobody talks to him or trusts him, so he's like a clown, and that's just kind of where it's left.
There's also a
Oh my
brief
gosh.
cameo in the special edition of Return of the Jedi where they actually cut to a shot of Theed, and you hear Jar Jar's voice say, "We are now free."
No, thank you.
What?
Where he says, "We are now free." And it was an additional scene in the special edition of Return of Jedi.
Okay.
Oh God! Wait. Is that okay? So, Return, the special edition.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one with that god awful music scene?
Yes. One of I really do not like that additional scene.
Oh my goodness! It's a good thing we're not
What?
reviewing that.
It just breaks out in a musical or something.
Oh no, seriously, Lance, it's bad. I tried to warn my wife because
my
she never
gosh.
watched that one, but like
Yeah.
she said, no, I want to watch through it one time. I'm like, fuck, okay.
Oh jeez.
It's like alien jargon music, and it's like this like pair of lips on like this like raisin with little stick legs.
Size
It's
it's terrible.
It's terrible. It just stick to the old. Stick to the non-special edition of Return of the Jedi.
Still has size snoodles in it, just less CGI'd.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah, so yeah. Jar Jar Binks, no, most people don't like him. I mean, and I
Misa
think
no
we're
like.
kind of we're kind of on the same page. It's like you either hate Jar Jar or you just kind of don't mind him. There's not really anybody who's like, oh, I love Jar Jar, like he's just fantastic. It's like
I actually did know somebody that actually liked Jar Jar, but I didn't know if he was ever serious about it or if he was just like doing a bit that he just always did.
Right. Like if he was just trying to be controversial.
Fan. Yeah, just one diehard fan out there.
I'm sure there is. But for the majority, people don't really care for him. The other characters
into this.
Screw
you guys.
I mean, I would say like smaller parts, but maybe you have Shmi Skywalker, which is Anakin's mother. She plays a small role in the film. Kind woman, she loves her son, and it's pretty much it. And she wants him to be successful, so she lets him go with Liam Neeson, which is Qui-Gon Jinn. Then you have and if you guys want to say anything about these characters, feel free. But you have C-3PO, which was there for a brief time. R2-D2, Yoda was part of it. Huh?
Love Anthony Daniels. He's a treasure.
Oh, C-3PO? Yeah. It's the same guy from the originals, right?
Yeah, he's actually I think he's the only person who has been in everything.
All movies.
Wow.
Well, he's even done a few bits that are not as C-3PO, and some of the things where C-3PO doesn't show up. Yeah, he is C-3PO for everything that has C-3PO.
Yeah, I like C-3PO. He's kind of funny, little. He complains a lot, but he's kind of like a constant character.
Comic relief.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the proper amount of comic relief.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's because it's less slapstick and more of a drier sense of humor.
My parts are showing. Oh dear.
Oh dear. And he's always got that little like. I like his relationship with R2-D2. I think that's really what highlights his character. Like he's always fighting with him all the time.
Like that.
It's kind of funny. And Yoda's kind of in here, but Yoda's kind of he only says a few lines. He's really, he really doesn't have a big.
Almost.
Yeah, he really doesn't have a big part. He's just like, clouded everything is, and bad things. Like I don't know. How do you guys feel about Yoda? I'm being kind of.
I think I think Yoda is okay in this film. I mean, I like that he's still a puppet in this film. I just kind of think that, oh, cool, it's Yoda, and that's kind of about it. I mean, he does have that famous line, fear leads to hatred, hatred leads, to hate, and hate leads to suffering, which is considered to be a memorable line. Um, I still think Yoda's appearance in Empire Strikes Back is the best appearance of Yoda, but I think, I think he's fine here.
Yeah. Yeah, he's fine here.
I think there's a little bit of overdoing the syntax he uses. That it's a little bit more restrained in the original trilogy. Then when you get to this, it kind of like it ups it a level. Like they have to go like, oh well, that's the thing he does. We got to make him do it a lot. He doesn't do it as much in the original trilogy.
Like how he
People think
speaks.
about. Yeah.
You mean? Yeah. I kind of wish that I would see more Yoda. I think the original trilogy, it wasn't about him, so they really didn't include him that much. They have the couple fights with him or whatever. But I think like seeing a series with Yoda in it would be like really interesting to me. Like maybe seeing like he lived like 900 years. I mean, how many things has this guy been through in 900 years? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it has to be a ton of stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, when you live to be 900 years old, I imagine you've done a lot.
Yeah, and I would like to see him in his prime because, like, we saw old man Yoda. I can't imagine what he was like when he was like, 30, 500 years old or something, or 400. He probably would have been crazy.
Oh yeah, well, you saw the flips that he did in episode 2. Imagine what kind of flips he would have done back when he was 500.
Yeah,
before the arthritis
exactly.
set in.
Yeah, exactly. And just for reference, like the Mandalorian, the little baby Yoda creature, Grogu is only 50 years. He's 50 years old, and he's still a baby, like
Yeah.
which is crazy,
Yeah.
So I don't know how their aging works because I feel like if you're still baby at 50, but then you're old man at 900, like I don't know how their aging works there, but the math seems a
Well,
little off to me.
so we've talked about most of the other characters. We haven't talked about Mace Windu or Palpatine yet.
Yeah, Mace Windu's very minor. We can kind of briefly go over him. Palpatine's a little bit bigger. Yeah, Mace Windu, he's played by Samuel L. Jackson, and he's very serious. Very just he's not much one to joke around. And if it is, it's a very dry joke, or very like I don't know, like with the serious tone and face. It's like probably Samuel L. Jackson's most serious role I've ever seen him do. Compared to all the other stuff he does. What do you guys think?
Well, I think he's fine in this film. I think he gets better with each film. I do think it's kind of interesting that Jackson was cast for this role because it's a very different performance than most Samuel L. Jackson characters.
Yes.
Usually Samuel L. Jackson characters are pretty unrestrained, very emotive, usually over the top. Mace Windu is actually a very much more stoic and restrained type of character, which is very different from the types of characters that Jackson usually plays. But I think he nails it.
It's like that. No matter how stoic he is, though, he still sounds pissed off.
Yes. I do think it's kind of funny that Jackson was a pretty late addition to the cast. At one point, they were actually planning on having Mace Windu be like either like a person in alien makeup or just be a straight up animatronic before they ended up casting Jackson for the role.
I like that he's the reason there's a purple lightsaber.
Yes.
Samuel Jackson
reason.
is the reason. Is because he wanted one from George Lucas.
Yeah, he asked for it before he said, "Is there any way I can get a purple one?" And then Lucas he liked Jackson so much. He's like, "We can look into getting a purple one."
Yeah.
And then he had to rewrite some of his own stuff because he's like, "And the best ones that both get a purple lightsaber."
Yeah, is there anyone other characters that have purple?
No, not in the original stuff.
Okay. Yeah, just him. Yeah, which is pretty cool. Maybe aren't the lightsaber colors supposed to kind of represent the
Slightly
personality?
signify what they excel at the most, like more
Okay.
of.
Yeah. Now,
You
one
know,
thing is funny is Jedi Power Battles, which was a tie-in game for Episode 1. That was the first game to have a playable Mace Windu, and that was before they had settled on his lightsaber design. So he's actually given a blue lightsaber in that game. Although I think they've actually made it purple in the recent re-release. Another interesting thing is one of the other Jedi characters in the council. They actually gave her a red lightsaber because that was before they decided that, well, all bad guys have red lightsabers.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean,
right.
in the books, Leia had a ruby red lightsaber at one point as well.
hmm
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's very cool that Samuel kind of turn that into a thing, like purple lightsabers in general. That's like very interesting. Palpatine is a bigger character than Mace Windu, at least in episode 1 and 2, I mean, and 3. But he um Palpatine here is mostly just, he shows up. Well, the Sidious, he's Darth Sidious,
Uh-huh.
and he shows up as a two different personalities. He's one as a senator, and then one as a Sith Lord, and he's the typical for what you get from the original trilogy when he's the Sith Lord, like I am evil, and like we're doing bad things, and then like when you get him into the senator, he's like trying to be gentle, but you can still tell something's off about him.
Mhm.
Like, like even if you hadn't watched the films, you're like, there's something weird with this character. Like, I don't know what's going on with this guy, but there's something I can't tell if he's good, bad, or whatever's going on.
Yeah.
But he's kind of slightly he's trying to be persuasive without being too obvious about it. And he's, at the same time, it's just like this typical manipulator type of behavior, like, oh, you don't have to do it, but it would be really good if you did, kind of mentality. How do you
Yeah.
I've
guys
always
feel
liked
about
the
it?
representation of Palpatine. I think he's always kind of just been a really good character. Like, yeah, especially as a villain, he's very manipulative, but he's calculated, and
Mhm.
just the way that he's able to orchestrate things. I think it like Sonny's been saying most times when you ask how this character was, like most of us are like, yeah, they're okay. But I feel like Palpatine kind of stays steadily high on his
Yeah. Uh,
performance throughout all of them.
yeah,
I
Ian McDermott, who
Yeah.
plays, I think, Palpatine in all the films. Uh,
Now he does.
Now,
He was cast for Return of the Jedi, and so they have put him in to Empire at this point. Originally, and actually, you had one person voicing the Emperor, and then you had Marjorie Eaton
yes, yeah,
playing the
yeah.
Emperor.
Actually, I think that brief scene in Empire actually looks better than the remastered version because it just looks that much. That just looks like a really creepy with the mask and the deep voice and stuff. I think you lose something like that with the remasters where they actually put McDermott in that scene. But that's just me. But anyway, but McDermott from Return of the Jedi onwards, he's a real treasure. I mean, whether he's like whether he's being like cackling over the top like pure evil, or if he's just simply being like a politician, he's he's been always great when playing Palpatine. I actually really like him in this film. First of all, I told you that I really like his "I will make it legal" as Darth Sidious, but I also really like his later scene where he's like, "Wipe them out, all of them." But I also really like his scenes as the senator because, I mean, sure, there is something off about him, but at the same time, it's still believable where he's acting with concern about the safety of Padme and the frustrations and problems with the Senate, which pushes Padme to push for the no confidence vote. and also just his curiosity of Anakin. I think if all the material he's given, he does a great job with it. I think he's definitely a highlight of Episode 1. If you're someone who had never seen Star Wars, and didn't know that this guy is going to turn out to be the big bad of the franchise, I think you'd still be very much invested with the character.
Yeah.
I do think it's kind of funny how often the Viceroy Newt Gunray calls him up, because he calls him up 4 or 5 times over the course of this film, and I can't help but think it's like, what if Palpatine was busy with something when he calls him up? It's like, did he have to excuse himself from a meeting, rush back to his office, and don the cloak just to pick up the guy's call?
Maybe he's got office hours.
Yeah. Don't call me until 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Oh wait, 8:30. I have a dinner date.
I also like to know is I'm sure they explain it in the books and comics or whatever, but I also really like to know is, where was he hiding Darth Maul all this time? Is was he hiding under Palpatine's desk? I mean, it's because they have that one scene, it's a cool scene between him and Darth Maul. It's they're in Coruscant and they're both wearing their cloaks and hoods and stuff, and of course Darth Maul's soon the Jedi will face the revenge of the Sith or whatever. It's a nice scene, but it's do you have to don the cloak every time you both meet, or whatever? I don't know. I just think there's some amusing things about him always having to don the Sidious disguise whenever he's doing Darth Sidious stuff.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It seems a little inconvenient for him to always be like, 1 second, I gotta go get dressed real quick. Okay, now I'm dressed. Okay, all right, yes. Now we're doing evil stuff. Oh no, everything's good. He's going back to the. I don't know. It's kind of a weird transition he has to do every time.
Kind of like customer service voice. Do you imagine one time he answers and just it's like, we need more reinforcements. He's like, of course, hang on. Sorry, customer service voice.
Yeah, it's just
alternatively, maybe he just has a hologram filter that makes him look like
That's what I thought. Thank you. That's what I thought too.
Right? Yeah, but then you actually see him wearing the cloak when he's with Darth Maul, so it's
he's got it.
Yeah, but if you just got to do a 5-minute call, do you really?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So before we get to the wrap this episode up, I kind of want to get maybe our favorite things about the film, our least favorite things about the film, and then we'll kind of say, is the film worth reloading? Means is it worth watching in 2026? My favorite things about the film, I was obviously the fight with Darth Maul. Easily my favorite thing about the film. I could watch that scene multiple times in a row and just get goosebumps and with the music and everything. There's parts of the film that feel a little bit slow as far as my least favorite thing. Sometimes some of the things on Tatooine feel a little slow sometimes. And I know they're kind of building up Anakin and that whole situation. And this film gets a lot of bad rap, and I really feel like it gets too much. I think the film is pretty good overall. I really think it I rewatched it and I was expecting it to like it less than I did when I rewatched it the other day. I was like, oh, I like this film a lot more than I remember. It's actually pretty decent. And I thought the graphics were gonna suck. Yeah, they're not great, but they're not nearly as bad as I remember them kind of being. They're pretty okay, and the acting was okay. It's I enjoyed the film. I thought it was good, and I think it was a good episode 1. Yes, it could have been better. Sure, everything could be better, but I would for me, I would say that people should reload the film, and it was fantastic. What about we'll start with you, Sonny. What do you think?
Okay, well, First of all, it's been years since I've rewatched the film, so my memories of it and my opinion of it is going to probably be not as strong. I think, like you said, I think if I rewatched it, I mean, I do have a VHS copy of it. I can pop it in any time. But if I did watch it, I probably feel the same as you did. That hey, it's not that bad. I mean, we all know that there's certainly worse Star Wars films out there now. Uh, but
Yeah.
I think um, before I mention what I like about the film, I think the biggest flaw of Episode 1 is the fact that it's Episode 1. I think
Sure.
given where the story goes for Episode 2 and 3, I really think that they really needed something else to have been Episode 1. I think this would have made a good Episode 0 as like a self-contained adventure to like, reintroduce the world and characters. But if it's supposed to be like the launch pad for a greater narrative, I think it kind of messes up there, and it forces Episode 2 and Episode 3 to basically have to like really condense and speed things up just to get the story going. I don't know. I just kind of feel like that. Like it's fine introducing Anakin this young. It's fine showing Obi-Wan as an apprentice and stuff. But if this is supposed to be part one of a trilogy, I think it would have been better for the overall narrative if Obi-Wan was already a master and Anakin was already a little bit older, and you're already setting up the separatist stuff in this first film. Because the separatist stuff is a big deal for Episode 2 and 3. And that way, if they had set some of the stuff up in Episode 2 and Episode 1, it would have given Episode 2 more of an opportunity to breathe. And the same thing for Episode 3, because they have to rush a lot of stuff in Episode 3 because, well, they don't
Agreed.
have another film to wrap everything up. But
Agreed.
yeah, I think, like I said, I think Episode 1 is a fine film. It's a good self-contained adventure. It's different from other Star Wars films, and it does a lot of world building, a lot of stuff that would become a core part of Star Wars canon going forward, for better or for worse. I think it has a distinct visual style that actually I think holds up better in some ways than Episode 2 and 3 does. And I think it's because it still has a nice balance of practical and CGI. And it's a film that a lot of millennials grew up with and are actually now very nostalgic for. So, in terms of things I like about this film, me personally, I love the soundtrack. I think the soundtrack for this movie is top tier. I like Liam Neeson. I like Ian McDiarmid. I like the design of Darth Maul. And I like some of the battle scenes. And the pod race.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm on board with it being an Episode 0. I think almost it should have been a 4-part quadrilogy or whatever you want to call it. I think that would have been a better, because the second and third film are rushed for sure. So I agree with you. But yeah, good film overall. What about you, Wob?
I actually think that the Episode 0 sentiment, I never really considered it because I try to just accept what I'm given. But Episode 1, I mean, so here's the thing. We think of it better now because we have the sequel trilogy. We basically got like Game of Thrones at the end. Like 7, 8, 9, they're not good. But I don't know if that really makes 1 better. I still think it's a fine enough film. I just kind of think it suffers a lot. It's weird because it's technically the 4th movie he made, but it suffers from growing pains. And I have to say that, like, it's Sonny's right. If this was more of a prequel, would have been a lot better. It would have helped out the other 2, but I think 2 and 3 are among my favorites, to be honest. I love obviously this is where we get the idea of what a lightsaber battle becomes, and that's like they couldn't have started it out any higher, because that final fight scene is just, it's S tier. It's so good. Obviously, Darth Maul is goated. I think Darth Maul is my favorite villain in the entirety of the franchise, personally. The more I look at it, though, you guys are like I love Obi-Wan, but growing pains. Qui-Gon, phenomenal performance, phenomenal character, short-lived. Didn't like
Yeah.
Jar Jar. Never didn't even like Jar Jar as a kid. Pod Race's hype is crap, but that's because it was awesome. And I have fond memories of playing Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer with my late cousin when we were kids. So the pod race always kind of holds a special place. I might get a little bit in trouble for this one, but I've never really liked Padme as a character. I love Natalie Portman, but I don't really like Padme as a character. I feel like they never really decided what she was gonna do. She just kind of feels all over the place. Like even as a senator.
Yeah, I mean, basically, honestly, I think she's given more initiative in this film than she does in the second and third films. Because in the second and third films, she just kind of gets regulated to either Anakin's love interest or mother of Luke and Leia. And
Yeah.
I think that kind of ruins like her performance in this one for me, though, because like knowing the whole story, like everything she kind of does, it still doesn't really feel like any of it was that great to me. I don't know. I love Natalie Portman. Padme is just, I feel like it's a character that I just can't help but see Padme from episode 2. And her in episode 1 is just like this spunky young, I'm the hand of the queen, let's go across the galaxy. And I love that, but I can't help but feel like it's for Dot in the end.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I feel the same way. I feel like her character was a little dull a little bit. Yeah, that's all. It was like me.
Well, like Sonny said, like, she's kind of like sidelined to love interest, future baby mama, and sacrifice that turns Anakin over.
yeah, but that's the thing. It's weird. She is given more to do and actually has more initiative in the first film, but her performance in the first film is so stoic that I have a hard time remembering like which scenes is actually her and which scenes is the fake. And then, but then she's like, she does better acting wise in the second and third film, but she has less to do. I mean, half the time in the second and third film, she's just sitting on a couch.
Yeah, the best scene was when she was in the stadium, like fighting for her life.
I loved that stadium scene, dude. It was so hype when the clones arrive.
Dun 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 dun. They're like just trying to survive. Like it was pretty good. But would you recommend people reload this film in 2026? Well,
I can't ever say that somebody shouldn't watch the Star Wars movies, and I want to say don't watch through all of it because 7, 8, 9. But at the same time, it's out, it's there, it's real, it happened. We have to accept it. Damn.
I know you're saying that, but I still don't accept it yet.
I still can't. We have to, but it's oh my god.
It's like fan fiction to me. Like,
dude, I really wish they would just erase them.
Right.
Just say, you know what, guys, we fucked up. Here's the real episode 7.
I want to get like when I cover those movies, I want to get some people that really love them and to try to get me to change my mind because I just am not on with it.
Well, yeah. For me, I just stick with the old EU canon before Disney bought it. I just kind of it's like Heir to the Empire and Dark Empire. That's episodes 6, 7, and 8 for me.
I just wish they would just either say yes or no to Old Republic. Is it still a thing? Is it not? What is? What isn't? Yeah. Knights of the Old Republic, like I they tease us with it, but they don't confirm it.
Yeah. Now, funny enough, Knights of the Old Republic was such a big thing in the early 2000s that people actually, like fans at the time, called those games like Episode 0.
Right? Yeah, no, they're super popular. I haven't actually played. I played a few hours of one of the Knights of the Old Republic games, but I feel like I'm missing that page of my book, and I really need to get on that.
It's the best dialogue out of any Star Wars game.
I played a little bit of Knights of the Old Republic 2 with like the restored content mod. Phenomenal. I
can't believe you played a little bit of Knights of the Old Republic, but couldn't finish through it. Like that's one of the greatest gaming twists of all. It's so good.
Yeah, I was playing on a PC. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Darth Kreia is one of the best Sith Lords in the franchise.
I bet. Yeah, no,
I like
more people need to talk about the dialogue in Knights of the Old Republic, where the exchange between two characters is, I guess you could say I did it all for the Wookiees. The Wookiees, the Wookiees.
Okay. The best dialogue I've ever heard. All right. What about you, Mike? How do you favorite and least favorite things about the film, and would you recommend people reload the film in 2026?
I think, and obviously, I think Duel of the Fates, the pod race are the two spots the movie hits best. I think as a movie, it has always been, in a way, cursed by being a Star Wars movie. And what I mean by that is, when it came out, so much energy went into that for being another Star Wars movie, really at a point where that didn't seem conceivable that you would get another Star Wars movie. Like, after that, it's not a surprise to find out, oh, they're bringing a franchise back or something like that. But I think this really was no, you can actually expand an existing franchise. Really, like, it was ground shaking in that sense. But at the same time, I think it also meant that it was heavily compared to the original trilogy, and I don't think it is able to live up to that in the way of really having a sense of characters and personality come across that the original trilogy has, and I don't think the prequels overall are able to. And I think some of that just reflects who and how many people are shaping things like dialogue to really get distinct characters and a feel for these as people, not just as their roles in a story. And so on one hand, I think if it hadn't been a Star Wars movie, if you could strip that out theoretically and still have it be what it is, you'd end up with a movie that I think is still better than a lot of other sci-fi movies that it would get compared to of the same time. I don't necessarily think it's outright. So I don't think it's outright bad, but for such a long stretch, it suffered with that comparison of it was not living movies that came before it for a lot of people. And so for a long stretch, underwhelmed, but I was appreciative out of what came out of that. Like, this I just saw opening day. By the time of episode 3, I lined up for 500 hours in Hollywood to see that, with people who had lined up for 6 weeks for Phantom Menace as well.
Whoa.
So, it's like a lot of the things that show the people that were outside the Chinese theater in Hollywood for Phantom Menace, a chunk of them are people I know, and a bunch of them I still just saw for Mandalorian and Grogu, where they did like 48 hours at the Chinese raising money for charity and just waiting for the movie. So like, there's a whole lot of the prequels as a whole that I value that comes out of that, irrespective of the movies themselves, but more the fandom and elements around it.
Okay.
And then it's been very weird since the Disney era, and like Force Awakens, which I have my issues with, but I feel like most of my issues stem with the fact that the movie had to. I think the movie does a better job of feeling like it captures characters the way the original trilogy does than the prequels did. And I feel like part of why that is too close to being like the original trilogy was an effort to convey that they understood why so many people liked the original movies and were underwhelmed by the prequels.
Yeah.
But now it's become this thing that they've sort of memed back into greatest. And I've seen people talk about like, well, the new ones are bad. Everybody loved the prequels when they came out, and it's like that's not remotely true.
Yeah.
It's weird that has gotten retconned so heavily.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's again. So I think possibly Phantom Menace more than anything else ends up constrained by how it's being compared, and that I think it suffered more than it deserved to for a long time for how it was compared to what had come before it. And now I think it has this overly built up reputation, especially it in the second one, compared to on the basis of people that are comparing it to what's now come out. Oftentimes seems to forget things that went on with those that were issues that people had from the get-go. So there's an element of it doesn't feel like it's ever evaluated on its own merits. It's always how it relates to what came before or after.
Yeah.
Um,
I think fan expectations was something that Phantom Menace suffered from a lot when it originally came out, because people were expecting something at least on par with Empire or Return, and it's different.
the other interesting part is the extent to which people I know, or like, because I know people that are in those clips that show up about like fans walking out of the movie saying it's the best ever. Like some of the people in that I know, and you kind of do have people that had the walked out saying that, and then are like, yeah, there's a high that they rode at the time, and so you also have the reverse of people who have kind of sat with it for a little while, and they're like, no, I was just glad that there was more Star Wars, but the actual thing that they had, maybe less so. And so I think to get to the overall question, unfortunately, it's still going to be somewhat tainted by the how this relates to the other things. Is I think this is not a movie that if someone's going to say, "Hey, should I check out Star Wars?" I would point them to. It is something that I would say if someone checks out the original trilogy and enjoys the world, I think this is then a good piece in that world. But I don't think it's good as an introduction.
Okay.
And it's harder for me to say you should definitely watch this than I would say about the original movies. But it's definitely one where it's like, if you watched those and you're still enjoying this, here's how you get more of it. Like, it's not you should avoid this. It's just, it's lower down the priorities within Star Wars in my mind.
I will say, as a comic book, it holds up pretty well. The comic book adaptation has all the important core scenes of the film, pretty much all the plot beats we discussed in this discussion, but without too much of the fluff. So, if you want to enjoy the plot of Episode 1 without watching the film, I would recommend the Dark Horse Comics adaptation.
Yeah. And I don't know where this exists anymore. There was a glorious thing in the declining days of Napster. Like for like the 2 years between this came out and Napster ended, so many different remixes of Duel of the Fates in different styles. It was people just put them up and you just find them all.
Like AMVs of like the scene or something.
People just deciding that they're going to mix it into like a sort of different musical style or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so your kind of thing is like, yeah, people should watch it with the caveat that they like the other Star Wars films. Is kind of what you're saying, like the original trilogy. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It serves the purpose it did in '99, I think, which was I don't think it was an amazing standalone film, but it was more Star Wars, and that is still enjoyable, and it still has good things, even if it's not the right point to start.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I would introduce people to Star Wars through this film. Because I don't think it's personally horrible, but it's definitely not my favorite Star Wars film. I'm gonna say that for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's fine as an introduction, because it's just it is a prequel, and it's like one of those things where, yeah, the story of this section of the Star Wars universe starts here. But funny enough, my wife started with The Mandalorian, and then now we're kind of watching this. But the Mandalorian is almost like almost a self-contained thing, aside from a few cameos that you get here and there. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, I feel you, but I think I personally would recommend people to start with this. Even though I think the original trilogy would be considered to be better by most people.
I think part of my distinction, and maybe hasn't come up yet, like something like the machete order of here's how you kind of interweave them so that you still get some of the plot points out of the original trilogy first. Like there is something of going through those and getting to have a reveal of who Darth Vader really is, kind of stuff, and
yeah,
things like that just I think they don't hit if you know what's going on, because they rely on purpose or not. Part of why they work the way they do is they rely on what you don't know yet.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think that's that's mostly a 4 out of 4 vote to reload it in 2026. One of them's more of a like, yeah, if but so for the people listening, yeah, it sounds like Phantom Menace is worth rewatching, or watching for the first time in 2026, whether you watch the original trilogy first or not. I think it's a good film. I would probably give it like a good solid 6.5 out of 10, or something like that. I think that's where it kind of sits with me. And that's not like a D rating. I know like grades in school kind of make you think that's like a bad rating, but that's not like a bad, like to me, that's not like a bad rating. It's like it's good, the high of the almost the 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 scene with Darth Maul is like really high, but then you get some lows in the film and it's like, okay. But yeah, anything else we want to say before we kind of wrap up? Any last thoughts before we kind of wrap up this episode?
I think Star Wars Episode 1 is definitely a highlight of 1999 when it comes to sci-fi films. Of course, it was a banger year for sci-fi films in general. I think in 1999 you also had the first Matrix film and The Fifth Element.
Those were great.
Yeah. And also this was a really great time for movies and special effects. Because CGI was actually starting to really get good, but you still had practical effects. So you had a lot of good films around this time that was doing great blendings of CGI and practical. I think this film, Episode 1, and of course the Lord of the Rings films, which came out in the next couple of years, struck a perfect balance between using CGI and practical effects.
Totally.
Yeah, I think in some ways, Episode 1 is the most visually colorful and creative of the 3 Star Wars prequel films. I do kind of think that this might be I don't want to say weakest, but the most self-contained of the 3 prequel films. Again, like I said, I feel like this should have been an Episode 0, but it definitely has its own visual language that makes it stand out compared to Episode 2 and Episode 3, which kind of shares its own kind of visual language. And so in some ways, I think Episode 1 kind of stands out on its own.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. The vibe is definitely different, and that's visually and everything. Self-contained story, like you said. Yeah. All right. So I kind of want to get to your guys' socials. We've been having a good discussion for about 3 hours. It's very solid, solid discussion. Sorry for anybody who's staying up a little bit late to do this.
And to think that like 40% of it was about Phantom Menace.
Yeah, the 40% of it, about 40 to 45%. So Mike, do you what do you guys what do you do online? Where can people find you?
So, as much as this was me talking movies, my main bit is talking video games on the Old Switcharoo, where we focus on um, everything that is available on the Nintendo Classic service on Nintendo Switch Online for older games. So that's you can find us anywhere you get podcasts at the old switch a brew.com. That's AROO.com/follow. And so most of what we do is and as I'm the movie watcher with some gaming, half of that is me trying to tangent that back into movie discussions when I get the chance anyway. So kind of like this, except we don't switch medium.
Yep. Okay, nice. Yeah, the old switcheroo. Yeah, that's it's SWITCHAROO, right?
Yep.
All right, cool. Got it. So yeah, check out the podcast, everybody. I actually have been meaning to check it out. I think I checked out one episode a while back, but I haven't gotten through a lot of your catalog yet. Now, Wob, where can people find you? Are you doing anything yet online or?
I don't know.
All right. All right.
Wob just Wob.
Do you
I'm
find
just kind
Rob
of
on
infecting the Discord and stuff. You know, you can find multiple Wobs around.
Yeah, dude, you're
Uh,
Agent Smith. You're Agent
pretty
Smith
much,
of the
yeah.
Discord.
Yeah, pretty much. We are Legion. We are Wob.
Yeah, you can find Wob on a lot of Retro Reloaded episodes. He's been super helpful, and he also is now on this episode line, which is anime and pop culture reloaded. Not as catchy as Retro Reloaded, but yeah, that's yeah, awesome. And then Sunny, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on YouTube as SummerSetBanjo. You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky as SummerSetBanjo. You can find me on DeviantArt as SummerSetBanjo. And you can also find me on Twitch as SummerSetBanjo. I also have some other socials, but I don't use those as often. Mostly what I've been doing lately is I've been streaming video games. I do it at least on average 4 times a month. I recently have been streaming through Star Fox 64, and I actually got all the medals for the first time. And
Nice.
yes, thank you. And I've also been uploading YouTube videos twice a week, usually of either some gameplay footage or some music or anything else that comes to mind. Sometimes I just kind of do a whole variety of things on there. And I've also been dedicating a lot of time and energy into making a Star Fox webcomic. And I'm currently trying to look for some editors, either some story editors or art editors, because, well, I've gotten to the point now where the team and project's big enough that it's all piling up, and I need to start delegating. Uh,
Nice.
So I need to find some people that are trustworthy and competent at editing. In terms of other than that, I'm still, of course, always looking for writers and artists that'd be more than happy to volunteer their time. To it, we got over 15 issues fully scripted, and we're starting to get close to having some issues done in terms of art.
Awesome. That's good.
Yeah,
Moving it
it's
along.
been a long time coming. We've been working on this since 2022, and now that a new Star Fox game is coming out, the hype is real.
The hype is real. Awesome. Yeah, go check out the. Do you have a website yet for that? Is there a
No,
website for your?
not yet. I'll
Okay.
I've been meaning to since the start of the year to create an official page for our team, but like I said, work has been piling up, and
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
always
and
like
so it's
that.
like, yeah. So if I'm not working on one thing, something else is not being done. You
Yep.
know.
Yep. I
Um.
know it. I know it. Um.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, go check out Sonny's Twitch and his YouTube and his Twitter. Sonny's been also very helpful in the Discord, and he's an admin in there, and he's a bot killer. He's like extremely good at killing bots.
Yeah, I'm
He's
like the Kyle
Terminator.
Reese of the server.
Dude's like quick scope. He like quick scopes them. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Sonny, and yeah, thank you guys for being here again. It was a good time.
Oh,
Word.
certainly.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with us all.